Welcome back, Game and Outsider listeners. This week, Zack, Alyssa, and I talk about what makes a game a mid-tier game. We also share some of ours and our listeners' favorite titles that fall into that category. In news, there's a ton of layoffs in the tech industry this week, including many in the gaming industry. And you'll also hear impressions of games, including A Space for the Unbound, a game dealing with depression, Vengeful Guardian Moonrider, a throwback to the 16-bit era of gaming, and Startup Company, a sim game where you run your own business. This is the Gaming Outsider. Greetings, programs, and welcome to The Gaming Outsider, a video game podcast with a focus on our incredible community, which can be found at thegamingoutsider.com. It is Sunday, January 22nd. I'm your host, Scott Clark, and joining me, as always, are my good friends, Mr. Zach Parkerson. What's up, man?
I missed you. Missed you this whole week. We've been apart.
Well, this is 2 weeks in a row we're recording, so,
That's true. Yeah,
it's more than...
I'm sick of you, actually.
Yeah. There you go. But somebody I'm not sick of, and welcome back to the show, Miss Alyssa White. How you doing?
I'm better than I'm here now. I was so sad I had mids last week. I was so sad.
Right. Well, we missed our giggle machine.
And that is me.
That was something that was brought up when I played with the community last week. Was your laugh? You were there. You heard him talking about it. They loved your laugh.
Yeah, that it was real.
It's very real. So, all right. I just want to give a quick shout out to a couple listeners. Matt Sattler. His wife had a new baby this past week, so congrats to him, as well as Mr. Bill Gardner. He had twins this week, so got to give a shout out to those guys. They were posting proud pictures in our Discord community, so
wow.
Wanted to make sure that they we
hope it's guys. Hope it's yours, guys.
Oh, that's
wow,
Zach.
Hey, I just said you know.
Well, yeah, I saw all the pictures, and they're all gorgeous babies. So, congrats.
Well, then they must be theirs.
Nice recovery.
You like that?
Nice
That's pretty good save.
Let's get into the games we've been catching up on. Zach, how fares Red Dead Redemption 2? Are you still suffering through that?
Yeah, so last week I was talking how my opinions did not change. The game, super boring, right? Those opening hours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know what's changed, but I am loving it, actually.
Really?
Okay.
Yes, I am really finding myself lost in the West. I started to think of it a little less like a game, more of like a time traveling machine, and that's been
okay.
I feel like I rejiggered my brain. It's been really helpful because you probably remember all the simulation aspects to it. So I've just been embracing those, and I don't know if it's so. I'm just taking my time with it, playing it really slowly, and for some reason that's I'm like allowing myself to turn over to it. I don't know what's changed in the 4 years. I don't know if it's because it was sandwiched in between some pretty major releases, when it came out 4.5 years ago, or now I'm out of a loveless marriage, so maybe it's just it's easier to find yourself lost and stuff. I don't know.
Man, it got dark.
Yeah, this is not that dark. It was just meant to be a quick joke, but I'm I don't know, man. I'm absolutely loving it. I'm loving Arthur. Is just he's a funny guy. I don't know. I like Arthur Morgan a lot. He's great. He's no John Marston. Okay, he can't be John Marston, obviously, but
no.
I like Arthur
hopefully our TikTok audience hears this because they were pretty angry with us last time. They heard us talking about.
Well, I'm all turned around on Red Dead. Let me tell you.
By the way, I loved Red Dead Redemption 2. Just putting this out there.
Well, Scott,
you never brought that up before. We talk about how much we hated Red Dead Redemption 2, and you just sit there like,
I had too much fun listening to you guys. I didn't want to be the lone person to be like, I liked it.
You should be. If you like it, speak up.
I'm doing it now.
Well, Scott and I famously didn't like it, and I remember people like wrote in like, I'm not listening to this show anymore.
Mm-hmm. Hey,
if that one guy who canceled his Patreon because we didn't like Red Dead is still out there, you can come back now.
Yeah, right.
It's all good.
I don't know how we'll reach you, but come on back.
But yeah, dude,
Alyssa, what about you? What have you been catching up on?
Oh, were you gonna say something else, Zach?
Oh no, I mean, I just love it. That's all. I feel like I had a more complete thought, but then it all went derailed here. But I'm all in on Red Dead Redemption 2. I can't stop thinking about it. I wake up, I think about Red Dead. I'm thinking about it right now.
Are you thinking about Arthur
Morgan?
Morgan?
About it.
No, I'm actually furious. This podcast is interrupting my travels in the Old West.
Well, I'm sorry, Zach.
Yeah, jerk.
I implore you.
I
can't do the voice.
You.
Yeah, that's the voice.
Like, Bill is great in Red Dead 2, but he's such a hillbilly in the first game.
I don't remember him in the second game, so
I got him some
it's been
hair.
4.5 years.
He very embarrassingly asked me to get him some hair pomade.
Mm.
I don't remember that.
He wanted to look better, so I had to discreetly give it to him, and then we had to promise each other like we're never going to talk about this again.
It's one of those deals.
Yeah.
All right, Alyssa. Now,
Okay.
what have you been catching up on?
Well, I decided to play Telling Lies because I really liked her story and noticed this is leaving Game Pass soon. I don't know when soon means. If anyone could tell me, like, is there a way you can look up dates for when games leave Game Pass? Probably got a website, but it's not on Xbox or anything.
Probably safest to assume if it says leaving soon, it's the end of the month, right?
Oh.
That would be my guess.
That's probably a good guess. I usually kind of go by Major Nelson's tweets on when something is coming or going on Game Pass.
Okay.
But
anyway, I decided, okay, I gotta play this before it leaves.
Mm-hmm.
So I started it, and it didn't draw me in like her story did at the very beginning.
Me either.
But as I've kept going, it's become more interesting and it's getting deeper. But didn't start off as strong as her story. But I am liking it though.
And doesn't Telling Lies have the girl from Westworld in it?
Yes, Angela Seraphian.
She is very pretty.
She is, and also Logan Marshall Green is in it, and I recognize another actress, but I cannot think of her name to save my life.
Okay.
But
now that you're into it, it's better because I struggled with the beginning and I kind of dropped off early.
As I kept going through the clips, it became more and more interesting to me. I do like that this time, instead of having to write down every word, pretty much that you want to search later, you can go through the videos and highlight the word and search it.
Mm-hmm.
Makes it a little bit easier. But yeah, it still scares me whenever something happens on the screen, like after you've watched several clips and the character, like someone in the background will say something to the character and you'll see your face pop up in the screen like, oh god, jump scare. I don't know. It's just a really interesting story and I'm liking it now, but it did have a kind of rocky start for me.
Well, that's good. How far into it are you? Do you know how long it is?
I'm not. I looked on howlongtobeat.com and it said anywhere between 7 and 10 hours. I think it has 3 different endings.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really know how far I am into it. I got past 2 a.m. in the game, sorry. Don't know if that means anything. But I got an achievement for that, so.
Nice. Let me know how it ends. I want to know if that one's worth going through. I mean, I would have to probably hurry up as well. Although I think I still own that game on my phone, maybe? Is that where I played it originally? Because these were phone games, weren't they?
I think it released on mobile first and then was ported. Or maybe it released at the same time.
I've got it somewhere. So, yeah, if you talk positively about it, I might jump back in and try that one at some point. So, as for me, I got together with my usual Borderlands 3 group this weekend. As always, it's a good time. We've been playing that game for 2 weeks now. We just play every Friday for about between 3 and 4 hours. And when we finished yesterday, we finally finished the introduction of the game. If you would believe that. The big thing with Borderlands 3 is that you're not just on Pandora anymore. You actually travel to multiple different planets, and we just now got on our spaceship for the first time, and that was where we decided to stop playing. But that just tells me this game is going to be massive because, it's 7 hours or so of just doing the introduction with 4 people. Wow. That was kind of nuts. Like I got the first achievement for the first story achievement. Where like, all right, you welcome to your spaceship or whatever that achievement is called. I just thought it was kind of funny. So I'm in for the long haul, but I'm still digging that game. It's very much Borderlands. Claptrap is more annoying this time around.
Perfect.
Somehow. But something happens to him when you get on your spaceship that CJ in our group really appreciated because he despises Claptrap, and it's pretty funny.
So it's a good moment for me too, I'm sure.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, which you'll never see because I know you'll never touch Borderlands 3. So
of course, it's true.
Also, I don't know if I talked about this last week, but I jumped back into Super Mario Galaxy a little bit on the Switch, on that Super Mario 3D All-Stars collection that they have on the Switch.
Unbelievably scummy Nintendo product.
Well, it's funny you mention that because I was able to re-download it off of the eShop. I don't have to use my cartridge, so
Well, if you bought it, right?
Right, but that was the thing was like because I bought it on my old Switch, right? And
Mhm.
the thing is they were saying like if you bought it, you wouldn't be able to re-download it on a new console. But I was able to download it on my new console, so I don't know. But anyway, that game is fantastic. I think Super Mario Galaxy 2 is superior, but this game is still a lot of fun. I really wish I were playing on my TV with the Joy-Cons instead of handheld mode, though, because there's a lot of things that I was not remembering require motions or are easier to do with motions. You know, like collecting the little jujubes or whatever they're called, the little things that you gotta get. You're supposed to shake the controller whenever you get to one of the stars to fire off to the other,
right.
or there's the levels where you have to like do the pull stars, and I have to like actually take my right hand off of the right Joy-Con and draw with my finger because that's the only way you can do that in those games. Normally, you would point the little directional thing, the Wiimote, at the screen and pull them, but you can't do that unless you were.
Pretty annoying.
It is. I mean, it's still doable, but I remember those levels getting hairier and hairier, so I'm not looking forward to doing that in handheld mode. So I might just have to bite the bullet and put it on my dock and play on my TV because I feel like that's the way it's meant to play. But
it's so weird they didn't make Galaxy 2 part of that, other than the obvious, so you can do another package.
Yeah.
I mean, what else would you package with that?
No, you just do the exact same package now, including Mario Galaxy 2 for $60.
Oh, resell it again?
Yeah, that's exactly what Nintendo would do.
Probably.
And they would say it's only available for 3 months. You got to buy it now.
Hopefully they would like do an upgrade for people that already have it, and just like, hey, for an extra $20, you can just get.
This is Nintendo,
I
right?
know.
They get away with murder. They could show you Doug Bowser murdering somebody on a live stream, but as long as he announced the next Zelda game while he did it, no one would care.
Probably. I've got another game I want to talk about. I actually didn't put it on the format here, but I went back in the Wayback Machine a little bit today, and Zach, I think you're really going to appreciate this. I've been reading a book that I think I mentioned to you guys called The Psychology of Zelda, which is a nonfiction book that I highly recommend you guys both to read. It's only like a 6 or 7 hour audiobook listen. It is fascinating, and I feel like it has opened my eyes to why I love Zelda games as much as I do. It's just, I'm kind of self-reflecting and realizing things about myself, not only with Zelda, but games in general, but this one obviously targets Zelda. But one of the things that this particular chapter dives into is Majora's Mask, which, as you guys know, is a game that I do not have a lot of fun memories of playing. I played it at release and struggled with it. Obviously I don't like a clock hanging over me, and that game definitely has a clock hanging over you. I mean, that's like the whole crux of the game, right? But listening to this guy talk about the themes in Majora's Mask and what it does in the world of psychology gave me a deeper appreciation for this game. So I decided to fire it back up, and I'm digging it.
Oh yeah.
I'm very, very early on. I'm still in that clock tower. I just got the ocarina. Had to chase down those 5 kids and confront Skull Kid and all that kind of stuff. So
the Bomber Kids.
Bomber Kids, yes, thank you. So I haven't really gotten super far into it, but it feels like jumping back onto a bike. I mean, the controls are identical to Ocarina of Time, but I think I'm gonna pick away at it a little bit more, just because what I heard about in that book, particularly the book says that Majora's Mask deals with the 5 stages of grief. I can't remember the psychologist that famously did that, but anger,
right,
and then leading up to acceptance and all that. And I was like, they're talking about how that is done in this game, because the game starts out with Link, who has lost his only friend left. Because the way Ocarina of Time ends is Zelda sends him back to him being a child again, and then Navi leaves.
Right, she bails on him.
Right, she just leaves. So he literally has no friend in the world, because all of the people that know him as the successful hero of Hyrule are now 7 years in the future, or however many years it was. And he's back to when he's a child, where he's a nobody. He has literally no... looking at that game that way and coming in and making him feel like he's an orphan all over again. And it's just all about him dealing with that grief, and then it's everybody else dealing with their grief, and then the time mechanic of making you go back 3 days to re-experience that grief all over and over and over again has psychological impact that I just never really paid attention to when I was, I don't know, 20 years old when that game came out. So I don't know. I'm going into it with different eyes, and I'm looking forward to seeing if I have a better experience than I did last time. So I thought you'd
look at us, Scott. We're growing. You know, it's a week
right?
of reappraisals for us.
I know. It's gonna be good. So I don't know how quickly I'll get through it because I still feel like that's a pretty beefy game. Even though there's only like 4 or 5
there's only
dungeons in that
4
game.
main dungeons, yeah.
But there's a lot of that time is filled with like doing things for Termina, I think is where it takes place.
Right,
it's not
Termina.
Hyrule.
Yeah, Termina.
So like kind of doing these like errands and fetch quests and things, but feeling good about it.
Well, so yeah, it's all deeply personal, and you're right. It has so much to do with grief, like especially when you get to that the Zora area. I remember that being pretty.
I don't remember.
Depressing, I guess would be the word. Bittersweet, I guess.
There you go. And it's kind of fun. So you can tell some of the assets are reused. And I'm not saying that in a bad way, but some of the characters are exactly the same, and you run into familiar faces that you saw in Hyrule in Ocarina of Time. The dude from Lon Lon Ranch is just like sleeping on a bunk somewhere.
Right.
It's just kind of fun. So I'm looking forward to going back in there and give it another shot. So that's what I've been catching up on. But let's go ahead and jump into the week's news. Couple new trailers to talk about. One, well, it's not a brand new trailer, but another look at Lies of P. This trailer is actually in 8K, and it's apparently featuring the RX 7900 XTX card, graphics card for PC. Also, a trailer for Power Wash Simulator Tomb Raider DLC
Hell yeah.
that is going to be releasing on January 31st. Who had that on their bingo card? I sure didn't. But also, some unfortunate news in the world of layoffs this week. I have a feeling we'll definitely dive into that. We got a lineup for the PSVR 2, and also Marvel's Avengers is no longer going to be supported in September. Zach, where would you like to begin talking this week, sir?
Oh, RIP. You know what? It's not a great week, so let's take some quick fun to dunk on something. Avengers finally dead. Nail in the coffin. My God, took long enough, right? Holy
You're
crap!
just waiting for this moment,
dude. It's been unbelievable. This game's been on life support since launch.
Yeah, and you know what's funny is I still haven't played it. I have it, and I've seen the title screen. I pulled it up to play it, and I don't remember what happened, but I just went like somebody popped online and says, "Hey, you want to play an online game?" And I flipped over and did that. All I've seen is the title screen. So I guess I'm part of the problem, but I don't know.
You're not part. You were part of the solution
by not playing it.
Yes.
Well,
he helped kill it.
Yes.
You said the campaign was fun and still worth playing.
The campaign is fun. It'd probably be more fun when they're not stopping you every 30 minutes to try to sell you something. So that'll be
in your face.
Yeah. So it'll be better after March 31st, presumably.
Yeah, because then they're not going to, on March 31st, you're not going to even be able to use the online store, and any current in-game currency you have is going to be converted to, premium currency will be converted to in-game items or, things that you can use in the game. So maybe that stuff just won't be up there anymore, and then I can just go play it and not have to worry about it.
Yeah, I think that's exactly when you should do it.
Wouldn't it be funny if... I hate to be like a downer on this, but wouldn't it be funny if they do that and all of a sudden they just get like a crazy amount of sales of this game? Like it sells for like $15
because it's finally the game people actually just wanted, like a single player Avengers game.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, the final update's going to be March 31st. Support ends on the 30th. Now, when we say support, that doesn't mean the game's not going to be playable. You can still play single player and multiplayer. There's just not going to be any new cosmetics, and then the marketplace will be shut down. And it's just not going to get any support. There's not going to be any more updates or
patches,
new characters or patches or anything like that. Which, if you haven't been playing the game, it's not going to affect you. But I don't know. I honestly don't know how big the audience is for this game. I mean, I don't know a single person that's still playing it.
Yeah, I have some people on like Twitter friends that play it, but they're also huge comic book people, and they're always like apologetic, like, yeah, it sucks. I'm still playing this game. This is funny. Like, why are you playing it? Boggles the mind.
I gotta get my money's worth.
You do. They are making all of the formerly paid cosmetics free for everyone, I guess. So that's a little something. And I hope everybody who paid for costumes feels like the idiot that they are.
Wow.
Just being real. You had to know that this game was going nowhere as soon as it came out because it was just so fundamentally like the single player was good, but all of the multiplayer stuff was so boring, repetitive, grind heavy, and just nonsense. And then every step of the way, Crystal Dynamics went like almost out of their way to comically make it worse. Like when they slowed down progression, and when they tried to sell XP boosters, but they had to walk it back because part of the sales pitch was that it would never have that.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that. Like they just kept trying to run this game into the ground. Weirdly, it's truly bizarre. How could Crystal Dynamics, a legendary developer in my eyes, fumble the bag on the biggest property in the world so badly? It's unbelievable.
I want to play it now.
Play it,
I do.
Play it after. I would be curious because when you're in the campaign, you have to go to your little Quinjet, your base of operations, and every time you're there, some of the objectives will be like, "Hey, you have to check into the store," which is just
an objective.
Yeah, it's super scummy. Just so you can see all the stuff you could buy. So
wow.
Now that'll be gone. I bet it's a more pleasant experience.
They'll probably still make you go check the store just to see that nothing's there.
It'll be more fun because it'll all be free.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. That's true. Just take everything.
Instead of charging $30 for a skin from the movie.
Wait, seriously? It was $30 for a skin?
Yeah, I think the MCU ones are usually $25 to $30.
Oh my god, I had no idea they were that expensive.
That's why I said if you bought it, you should feel like an idiot.
I mean, you could buy a decent, indie game or whatever for that much.
Right, that's half the cost of Avengers.
Right.
For one skin?
I mean, I'm such a cheapskate. I wait until stuff is old to buy it. I could buy 2 or 3 older games to catch up on. I don't know.
And it's a game that
I don't know.
You already knew the audience is limited, so what are you really buying it for? Just to have it in this game that's going to go away?
Yeah.
Very strange.
Zach, does this make you nervous at all for Kill the Justice League?
Oh my god. I'm depressed. Well, we knew they announced, because I assume you're referring to the leak screenshot.
Yes, I am.
That has been confirmed because it was leaked alongside a plot synopsis, and Rocksteady was like, "Yeah, that plot is definitely not real," and then just silence on the screenshot. So, and they keep copyright striking it, which is always a sign that it's real. To the point where, why does anybody do that? They have to know that's just a confirmation,
right?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a different argument. Yeah, it's got a battle pass. It's 6 different currencies in that screenshot that I could count. It's pretty remarkable. It looks straight up like a mobile game. Just a disgusting UI presentation that fills me with absolute dread. It looks like the Destiny UI, which I hate to death. Or at least the version when I played Destiny is what it looked like. Yeah, it looked absolutely disgusting, and quite honestly, it took a lot of the wind out of my sails for that game.
No, you were so excited for it.
Well, because they announced it as a live service game, which fine, but you had to have thought after Avengers they would have learned some lessons, and particularly like when Gotham Knights came out, which actually was not announced as a live service game, but the fact that Gotham Knights came out and didn't have a bunch of microtransactions and stuff, it was a little bit of like, oh, okay. Well, if the Batman game, which was no doubt the more easily monetizable of the two, is safe from this stuff, surely Suicide Squad has learned its lesson. But it would appear that is not the case. And that is deeply depressing because it could be like Avengers with a really solid campaign, and then the end game is such horse crap that you can't even... It ruins the reputation of the game in your memory because you're like, God damn, the ending was so bad. The end game was so bad. Yeah, so... Yeah, that really, really, really depressing. And I hate that kind of menu where they have to show you the characters, because they got to make sure you're always, you have to show you your character in every single situation they can to justify you paying $25 for a costume. because you need to feel like you're getting your money's worth. So it's nonsense. And also, why does Captain Boomerang have an Uzi in that screenshot? What's that about?
I know.
His name is Boomerang.
Yeah, he needs a boomerang.
What's going on there?
The gun is branded as a boomerang weapon. It's a boomerang firearm.
As long as he calls it a boomerang.
Exactly.
It turns out he's actually just been confused about what a boomerang was the whole time. He's just been
maybe
using
he
guns.
throws it like a boomerang.
That would be actually really awesome. And it's just like firing the whole time it's spinning. That would be really cool. I'm into that.
That sounds like a Borderlands thing. That's the thing I've been doing in Borderlands 3 is I have a weapon that you can throw in, like it's basically a grenade. So like when instead of reloading, you just like throw your weapon and it explodes everywhere.
Yeah, that reminds me of the laptop guns from Perfect Dark.
I did not play that one.
Oh man, it was a laptop, but you throw it on the ground, it would pop open. It was actually a sentry gun that you could put on walls and ceilings and stuff.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
It was pretty cool.
Well, I hope that. Do you think that game will get delayed now that leaked screenshot came out, and there could be like a patch, and they're going to make some changes?
No, come on. If we live in a world where Avengers limped along trying to do it for 2.5 years or 3 years, I guess. No,
wouldn't they learn from that? Like
you would have thought.
Failure?
Yeah, you would think.
But I guess it's 8 years of development, so maybe Warner Brothers is like, yeah, everyone's gonna hate this, but we're gonna make some money back somehow, some way.
All right.
Yeah.
Guess we'll have to wait and see on that one.
Anyway, I'm gonna hurt myself.
Don't do that.
Well, I was gonna say kill myself, but I've been saying that a lot lately as a joke.
I will be sad, Zach.
I think people are getting worried, so I'm trying to hold back. I'm not gonna hurt myself. I'm gonna buy it and feel bad about it. That's what I'm gonna do.
That's slightly less sad.
I'm sure it'll have a good storyline.
There we go.
You got some context,
thinking on the
man.
positive side.
Anyway.
Well, let's move on. Alyssa, any of these stories you want to talk about?
PSVR 2 announced their the launch lineup.
I feel like we're avoiding the big one here.
I didn't want to talk about the depressing story. I mean, there's a lot of games that are included at launch. Well, not. You obviously don't get them with the console, but you can buy them with the console when you get it.
Not necessarily on day one. They said by the end of March, because when does when does it release? It releases
launches
on
February 22nd.
February 22nd. So, about 5 weeks.
Yeah.
These games will all be out. And it's quite a list. We're obviously not going to read through the entire thing, but obviously Horizon Call of the Mountain. I think that one actually is coming packed in.
It is.
Certain ones, or I don't know if there's like a bundle, but some familiar ones that were on old PlayStation VR. Job Simulator. Let's see what else. Creed, Rise to Glory. Wasn't that originally on PSVR? Moss 1 and 2.
A Creed game being on there, yeah.
Moss is exciting. I'm excited for Moss Book 2 to have a second life. Because that first Moss was great, but then the second one came out, it was VR on PlayStation was long since dead.
Right. Felt that way. And I've heard good things about Moss too. I like the original Moss.
Yeah,
quite a bit.
The original's great. Yeah, he was your little buddy.
That's the one thing that I miss with VR is and I know you can do this with the Quest if you have a PC and you have the right cable. But with PlayStation VR, someone else can see what you're doing on the television screen. So it makes playing past the controller when you have a buddy impossible if you're playing where you don't have an extra screen. I mean, you can cast it through Facebook or something like that, but I don't know. Just the convenience of having it right there on your TV was nice. So, because that's what CB and I did. We kind of, instead of past the controller, we passed the headset. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What else? Pistol Whip.
Did you guys start COVID? Is that how that happened?
No. We wiped it down, though. Tetris Effect, which, by the way, that game in VR is great. That game is great anyway, but playing that with a good set of headphones and in VR is an experience that I highly recommend everybody do. That's great. What else? The simulator game, Vacation Simulator, Job Simulator. I don't know, guys. There's nothing on here that's like, yes, give me a $600 or what is it, $700?
$550.
Yeah,
but then
$550.
You gotta add the PS5 console price on if you don't have one already.
Plus, all these games are not ones that if you owned it on PlayStation VR, you just get that version of it on PlayStation VR 2,
that's true.
right?
That's true as well.
Although somehow PlayStation's allowing the Gran Turismo 7 to be a free update to VR.
Yeah.
I'm blown away. They must have had to sneak that one past Jim.
Also, a game called Zenith: The Last City is a free upgrade.
I don't even know what that game is.
I don't either. But I will say, Before Your Eyes, which is going to be on there, is a really great game. I did review it for the Gaming Outsider website.
Oh, that's the one where it actually tracks your eyes and knows when you blink and stuff, right?
Yeah. So you control the story by either blinking or trying to keep your eyes open as long as possible.
Nice. I don't know. I like VR, but I've got a Quest and I haven't touched it in a year. So I don't know. I'm happy for people that are excited.
You have so many ways to play games. Your Steam Deck, you got your Switch, you have your Xbox and your PlayStation.
Mm-hmm.
Are you longing for yet another way? And your Quest, are you really longing for another way to play video games?
No, I can't keep up with what I've got.
As I say, we're already constantly overwhelmed.
Yeah, I mean, I could stop playing new games and just be fine for the rest of the year. I really could.
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody on. Yeah, right. I was talking to somebody on Discord because I think it was Jade Empire went on sale on Xbox this week for like $4 or something.
Awesome game.
And I've never played it, and I didn't realize it was a JRPG. And I was like, man, between Final Fantasy VII, or the Final Fantasy VII Remake, which I would love to go back and replay, Final Fantasy VIII, which I'm currently playing, Jade Empire, Chained Echoes, and Rise of the Third Power, I could play just those 5 games for the rest of the year probably and be fine.
I do want to quickly... It's not a JRPG, though.
Oh, it's not? Okay.
It's BioWare, and the combat is real time. It's a martial arts combat system.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'll go pick it up.
It's fun. It's only like 20 hours, maybe.
Whenever I see a game go on sale for like $4, I'm just kind of compelled just to go grab it. It's like, I'll play it someday.
That's
it's so cheap.
The Metro PS5 versions were like $3 on sale last week. I was like, of course, I'll pick that up. I'll play these in 17 years.
Yeah,
I'll finally get back to those.
Exactly. I wanted before we get into the not so great news, let's talk about something positive.
Lies of P looks awesome.
It does.
It looks more and more like Bloodborne every time I look at it.
That's why I think it looks awesome.
Yeah, that's exactly why I think it looks awesome. It does look like you might have a case from software on some infringement situation because it looks just like Bloodborne.
It really
looks more
does.
like Bloodborne. The Callisto Protocol looked like Dead Space.
Yeah, that's a good point. But also that Tomb Raider DLC for Power Wash Simulator. What a random thing to do, but brilliant at the same time. I think that's I would love to see them do more of that.
It makes me somewhat sad as a Tomb Raider fan, though, because the last 4 games haven't had an explorable mansion, Croft Manor. But in Power Wash Simulator, I can.
Yeah,
I haven't been able to walk.
Many fond memories.
Because Shadow of the Tomb Raider had like a prologue level there, and then Tomb Raider Underworld, you blew it up. But you haven't been able to just explore Croft Manor since Tomb Raider Anniversary in 2006 or 7.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you can do it in Power Wash Simulator. Which I might play Power Wash Simulator just to do that. But
I might reinstall it because, especially if I can lock the butler in the freezer again, because that would bring back childhood memories.
Winston has to be there, right?
That's his name, Winston?
Yeah, Winston.
I could never remember his name, but oh my gosh, he's the most annoying thing ever.
You could clean the serving tray.
Just spray him down.
Or power wash it into his face.
You power wash the butler in the
Stop
freezer,
following
making
me
it
around, groaning.
In the freezer. I'm pretty sure that was a trap in Saw 3. Anyways,
wow.
Scott, you're right. It would be cool if they just kept doing this sort of thing with other Square Enix properties, maybe. You know,
I'm trying to think of what I mean. The easy answer is Final Fantasy VII. Like, you know,
there you
Squall's
go.
bike,
or Tifa's
clean
bar.
off the Buster Sword.
Clean Tifa's
just
bar.
wash down the bar.
That'd be
hilarious.
Cool. I'm into that.
Yeah, Buster Sword would take like 2 minutes, not even. But yeah, I just would love to see them just kind of keep going with different, maybe not even just in Square Enix, but just go. I mean, imagine like if they teamed up with Xbox and you got to go or wash down some warthogs.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Like there's potential for that, and that kind of would sell more copies of. I mean, although it's free on Game Pass, isn't it?
Yes.
So yeah, and that game is super relaxing to play. By the way, if you guys haven't played it, but it's good.
I tried it, I just couldn't get into it. But that was right after I played House Flipper, and I loved House Flipper so much, so maybe I need to go back now that I've had some time between House Flipper and now.
It's really great.
My idea of relaxing is more like Lake, just driving around a small town, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Another great game.
Yeah,
I loved it.
I'm so happy to hear that.
I love delivering mail.
It was so fun.
It was.
Shouldn't have been, but it was.
I gotta try that one too. Yeah, all right. Since you guys left it for me, I'll be the one that talks about.
Of course, you would want to talk about this, wouldn't you?
all the layoffs this week. Microsoft is about to lay off about 10,000 employees. Many of which are going to be in the gaming realm, and not all of them have been laid off yet. Some of them have started this week, but others are scheduled throughout the third quarter of the fiscal year. Just to give you some perspective, this is about 5% of their workforce, and I'm talking all of Microsoft. That's a pretty big chunk. Xbox and Bethesda have been heavily affected, according to Jason Schreier, which is crazy to think about considering they just acquired Bethesda, and then they're going to let some of them go.
Well, and it's especially weird because I don't know if you know, like the average tenure at Bethesda is around 10 years.
Wow.
People keep like the retention there is unheard of in the video game industry.
Well, that's how long it takes to make a Fallout game, apparently.
Was Elder Scrolls 6 going 2032, boys?
Oh, man. I saw somebody else talking about Obsidian wanting to make another Fallout game. And I was like, don't tease me, guys. Don't tease me. I would love that. But anyway, the reason for this, I would assume, is going to be with the earnings. Although last quarter, Microsoft earned $50.1 billion, which is actually 11% up. But their profits were $17.6 billion, which is 14% down. So they made more money, but that means they also spent more money because they've been hiring so much. So apparently they're kind of scaling back on this. To make matters worse, it sounds like 343 Industries. Well, I don't know about this anymore because originally it was announced that 343 was no longer going to be making the Halo games.
Well,
they were going to be.
It wasn't announced. It was just reported.
It was reported, and then it was going to be developed by third-party developers, and 343 was just going to merely oversee the outside development. But then I think it was yesterday, 343 tweeted out this almost like 1 or 2 sentence screenshot tweet that said, "We're still doing this.
Yeah,
Halo will always be here." So
I don't necessarily know if they should, but when that report came out, my immediate first thought was, this sounds like something the internet wants, not an actual story.
Okay,
that's just like because
on top of that,
that's just a nonsense organization. You need a whole company just to oversee Halo. That doesn't make any sense. You need Kevin Feige. One dude oversees most of the MCU.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need a company for Halo.
Right.
Anyway, sorry.
Google and Riot also had layoffs this week, although I think Riot's was like 46 employees or something like that. It was a relatively smaller number. Not that our thoughts go with those people that lost their jobs. Obviously, it's not when anybody loses their job, it's awful. But
I think it's over 200,000 jobs in the tech sector over the last 2 weeks.
Right,
That's insane. That's a big number.
It is, and I have thoughts. I have unpopular thoughts, but I'll let you guys start. How are you feeling about this? It's obviously horrible.
Sure.
People losing their jobs is always a bad thing.
General platitudes around.
Mm-hmm. But I gotta stay off Twitter apparently because just every
we're about to fight. What's going on?
No, just Twitter in general. Like first off, I think I finally see what everybody's talking about with Twitter. There's so many tweets that I'm reading that are not people I'm following. And like, why am I seeing about this? And why am I?
And sometimes it'll be people that like you see 17 of their tweets in one scroll. You're like, I've never heard of this person before.
Right? Yeah. It's like, what was wrong with me seeing just tweets from the people that I followed?
And they have a tab for that, but I feel like it's not what it's made out to be. I feel like I still see tweets from people I don't follow.
Right. So anyway, between this and the Hogwarts Legacy stuff this week, my mind is just like ready to cave in.
Dude,
I've been seeing so much of the Hogwarts stuff.
I'm with you on the Hogwarts Legacy stuff, dude. Oh my!
And I am so scared to even bring that up here, because
buy what you want to buy, don't buy what you don't want to buy.
Yeah.
There you go.
The double. It's if you buy an SNK game, does that mean you're supporting the Saudi prince who assassinates journalists? Because that seems a little worse than J.K. Rowling having unpopular trans thoughts.
Right.
But nobody goes after King of Fighters or Metal Slug the same way.
Right.
Just saying.
Anyway, but the tweets with this have all been just, and I know you're going to disagree with me, Zach, because I've been dreading having this conversation this week.
Okay.
Because I know you're anti-capitalism and you hate big corporations and all that.
I'm not necessarily anti-capitalism, but I am anti-corporation. Yeah. Anyway, continue. Just share your thought. Burn it all down.
You're not anti-capitalist.
I said not necessarily. Anyway, please continue.
All right. So here's my thing. Layoffs in business happen. Is it a good thing? No, it sucks. But the response of social media is like that these corporations are just the worst people on the planet. In some cases, are they? Sure. I don't know. But to me, the fact that they've gone this long without layoffs speaks to something, right? Like we had this pandemic, and I'm not just hanging my hat on the pandemic, but this has been going on for 3 years now, and the economy is down. They're down 14%. Employment is a huge part of overhead in business. It's part of business. Does it suck? Yeah. Am I cheering for it? No.
Why aren't the CEOs getting a pay cut?
And that's a fair point. Isn't that something that Iwata did?
Yeah,
like
Iwata cut
their profits were down. He cut his salary in half.
50% of his salary to keep that way they could use that money to keep jobs.
Right.
That's an unbelievable move. And I think, look, I truly think the job of CEO is hard, but they're the ones who had the lack of foresight to hire all these people during the pandemic, knowing full well that the boom of everyone staying home was going to burst. So why aren't some of them being held accountable as well?
I agree, and that's been another source of contention on social media. Is some of these employees are coming out and potentially breaking NDAs that they signed and saying and talking horrible things about you. You respect breaking an NDA?
NDA? Hell yeah! Not ones I signed. If publishers are listening, I would never break embargo on a video game. But yeah, you want to share some trade secrets? Do it.
I can't get behind that. If you sign something, that's a lack of integrity, in my opinion.
I think
you sign something saying you're not going to say something, and then you say something.
Yeah, well, you know what? I took this job because I thought I was going to have one.
And that's the other point that I want to bring up is job security is the thing. Alyssa, you're being really quiet. Anytime we get anywhere controversial, you just like kind of sit back in the shadows.
I just don't have experience with this, so.
You have experience?
I don't have experience.
Oh, okay. Job security is a thing. And I feel like I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, right? Job security, I feel like a lot of people want their cake and eat it too. You want to have the job of your dreams, and you want to have that job forever, right?
Right.
The jobs that are secure are the ones that don't pay what you want and aren't doing exactly what you want to do every single day.
Right.
I love what I do. I love it a little bit less these days, but it's not my dream job. I didn't, aspire to make crap money, right. And being stressed out, teaching children and dealing with red tape and all this kind of stuff. But I do it, and I have job security. And I know it's easy for me to say that as a union employee, which a lot of people in the tech industry are not union, and I get that. I have to be a union employee. I don't have a choice. If I'm not in the union, I can't be a teacher. So I've got that little bit of a security blanket. But when you're doing a job, and I understand that not everybody that is losing their job here with Microsoft is there for their dream job, right? Not everybody is. There's crunch. Crunch is a thing, right? These are jobs that people are forced to work a lot of hours. It's not great, but I don't know. I struggle with. There's so many people out there making so much money doing things that are not contributing to society. Not these people. I mean, I'm getting on a soapbox here, and I apologize. I scroll through TikTok for the 5 or 10 minutes a day that I have to look at TikTok, and there are people all day long playing Super Mario Brothers and getting paid.
Right, or athletes.
Athletes,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Actors.
I mean, actors. Would I love to have a job that is less demanding than what I'm doing and get paid a whole lot more money? Yes. I struggle with it being is it fair or is it not fair? I mean, some of it's luck of the draw. I don't know. I feel like I work just as hard as everybody else, if not more. But I'm also not. I am complaining that I don't make enough money. So I'm just a complete hypocrite. What are your thoughts?
I want to say quick side note. I don't know if you've seen what the Google severance emails were like, but I would not mind getting fired by Google.
I saw the ones for Microsoft too.
It was 9 weeks of severance, and they're converting your stocks into cash or whatever. And dude, I was like, dude, that's the way to get fired, man. If I get fired, I'm immediately in poverty.
And nobody's talking about the Microsoft severance package either. They're getting 6 months of their benefits still, even after they leave.
That's great.
So they're still going to have their medical and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. And then they're getting bought out basically. So it's not like they're just bye, see you later. I don't know. I just it's funny that nobody's talking about that. Everybody's talking about how horrible Microsoft is, for these layoffs. But not a single one of them mentions the severance package.
Yeah, I just, and I guess, look, it's a good thing we have timestamps, right? So if anybody doesn't want to listen to this, just go to New Games.
Right.
But, yeah, to me, it's just, yeah, why instead of laying off 10,000 employees, why don't you lay off 8,000 and a CEO? You know what I mean? Or I now working in a somewhat more corporate environment for the first time in 8 or so years. Boy, did I forget, middle management is just a completely useless operation. They do nothing. It's unbelievable. Office Space is totally right. Those are jobs that just should be eliminated. It makes no sense that these people are employed. But
so you physically take the specs from these guys and bring them down to these guys. Well, no. My secretary does that, or they're faxed.
Yes, exactly.
What would you say you do here?
Just
rewatched that movie recently.
That is what I'm talking about. But so what I'm saying, there are other positions higher up that you could eliminate. And I guess we don't know every firing, but you do also have to face realities 343 having big cuts. Yeah, man, you've had the Halo IP for over 10 years and haven't made a successful entry yet. I don't know. You guys released perhaps the most unfinished video game of all time with Halo the Master Chief Collection.
At release.
Yes, of course. Yeah, so I'm shocked you've had jobs this long.
And it's too bad because the Infinite campaign was great.
It was, and the man who oversaw it is now leaving 343, so I think that tells you everything you need to know about the future of Halo.
So what do you think, if you were in Microsoft's shoes, what would you do with the Halo franchise at this point?
Well, yeah, I would 343 would be gone, I think. I would redistribute those developers to other studios that want to stay on. If you want to, we own all of them. So, hey, we got some stuff over here at Obsidian, or if you want over here, etc. But 343 as an entity would be finito. And maybe you take pitch meetings with your stable of developers. You've got over 20 of them, and you see what their ideas for Halo are, or if they want to make one. You never know. What if Tim Schafer over at Double Fine,
my God,
chomping at the bit? He's like, I've got the perfect idea for Halo 7. You have no idea because you've been stuck in the 343 rut. Because these people have dropped the ball 4 times now.
Halo Master Chief. Are you counting Infinite just because of the multiplayer?
Yes. Well, and the complete lack of updates and the fact that Forge had to come a year later. They eliminated co-op. It was a great campaign. Love the campaign. But there was
I would
also
love to go through and play that campaign again with somebody.
But there was also supposed
I've
to be.
never played it, so
That's fun. We should play it.
It's really good.
But there was also supposed to be more of the campaign.
Yeah. Well, that was Halo Infinite.
Right, it's right in the name. And
like we kind of all thought it was just going to be a hub thing for the rest of the Halo universe, right?
That is exactly what the ending implies.
Mm-hmm.
The ending is basically like, can't wait to see you in 3 months when we have a new content drop.
Yep.
So yeah, I would let my other developers get at it, because especially Joe Staten now, the man who, they just eliminated those other positions like Bonnie Ross, and Joe Staten was supposed to be the new head of Halo essentially, and now he's leaving for Xbox Publishing.
Right.
It's over, right? 343. Like, I don't even know what 343 is now.
I don't know if Tim Schafer is where I would go.
No, I'm saying but you have pitch meetings with they have such a big stable.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what kind of ideas are sitting out there.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe Machine Games is like, hey, we would love to take a crack at Halo as soon as we finish up Indiana Jones, because
now I'm listening.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
We know how to make a first-person shooter.
Yep.
You have options, and 343 is not the correct one. But I feel like they painted themselves into somewhat of a corner by naming the studio after Halo.
Right.
True.
343.
After the bad guy, by the way. which maybe should have been the canary in the coal mine for all of us.
Possibly, yeah. I guess on a positive, I know we've been talking so negatively about my Twitter interaction with this, but to kind of bring a little bit light back to the story, it is cool to see people in the industry kind of reaching out to those that are being let go or already have been let go, and being like, hey, let's help you find work somewhere else. That's, a feather in the cap of the industry, is that they're all kind of looking out for each other. So you got that going for you, but I get the impression that industry is very volatile when it comes to security. I mean, a lot of those games are contract work, right? It's not like you're going to be getting a gold watch in 40 years for working at that same company, right? It's, finish this game and then hope they're going to do another one and still need you, or I don't know.
Yeah, I guess I don't know how unions are formed, but you would think that, I don't know. I guess I don't know how you get a strike going across multiple developers, but at a certain point, don't you have to kind of take the power for yourself?
How so?
Like if you work at Microsoft, you're at Obsidian, right? And you want a union, couldn't you you would have to all just not work, right? Take the power back for yourselves.
Oh, you mean strike?
Yeah, strike to unionize, right?
Right.
I was saying you have to force the change.
I get that, but understand that is very difficult for some people to do.
No,
that
course.
is something that I
mm-hmm.
would not feel comfortable doing. Like, again, in my job, we're in a union.
You would have to, right?
Right. There's no choice.
Yeah.
Like if the union collaboratively decides to strike, you don't have a choice. You can't be like the, shining knight that just comes to work anyway. You got to stand out in the streets and have everybody throwing garbage at you that are mad at you for not being at work. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, and I'm not. I understand it is difficult. I'm not trying to. If I painted it as something that was easy, I did not mean to. It's just if these layoffs keep happening and you don't like it and you want to unionize, don't you kind of have to sacrifice for a little bit to make those unions happen, though?
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation,
Right. But it's also a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation when it comes to choosing your career and choosing where you're going to work and choosing a job that has more job security already built in. You know what I mean? It's you go into a company that is going to be a risk, and then it doesn't go your way, and that's how it works.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And you get your revenge by leaking NDAs.
Yeah. Again, not something I would do personally. I just wouldn't do it. But boy, so hopefully we get some more positive news this coming week, because there was not a whole lot. But how about Power Wash Simulator, huh? Huh?
Yeah, dude. Oh, it's Croft Manor. Absolutely.
I kind of want to jump back into that too. I didn't get very far in the base game. I need to just go play some more. I need an unwind game, and that I don't know why I didn't play more of it, but
kind
there
of
you have it.
An unwind game after this conversation.
You think so?
Anyway,
Want to take a break and go wash Lara's quad?
Like her quadriceps?
No, dude.
Oh, because that sounds okay.
I knew as soon as it came out of my mouth.
I knew it as well. I was like, oh.
She's got nice
I'm
legs.
not asking you to power wash Laura herself. I would like you to power wash.
She wears those short shorts. She was showing. She knows she's got the quads. So, come on now.
Moving on, we are an independently funded podcast, which means that we must pay for our podcast hosting services, website, all that on our own, which is why we have a Patreon page where fans can contribute monthly to help offset those costs of production as well as give back to the community. If you'd like to help out, you can do so at patreon.com/thegocast, and we'd like to thank you by giving you some bonus content. Last week, hopefully you guys got a chance to check out the Last of Us series spoiler cast that I did with John Davenport and Eli over from the Hollywood Outsider podcast. We are going to be doing that again this week and every week until the series is up, so be sure to check that out. Also, we recently released Kevin's Beginner's Guide to D&D. Zach and I sat down with him to talk about exactly what it takes to start your own D&D campaign, because he is a great DM himself and a lot of fun to talk to. So we've also got the Ragnarok spoiler cast coming up soon. Still patiently waiting for CB to finish it so that Alyssa, he, and I can sit down and talk about that. Also, Games That Aren't For Us is apparently coming, and then I'm still working on Grandia 2 so that Kevin and I can sit down and talk about that as well as RoboTrek. So if any of those episodes or any of our back catalog, you want to hear some of those Games That Aren't For Us or Break the Seal episodes where we make somebody play an old game that they've never got a chance to play. So if any of those sound interesting to you and you want to check them out, head over to patreon.com/thegocast. And now we're going to jump into the new games that we've been playing. Zach, what is coming up new on the horizon? Anything that I should be checking out, or am I safe to go back to my backlog?
Oh, I think you're going to have to start the show with a showstopper, Scott, because Dead Space, which they should be calling a reboot, not a remake because it looks that different, coming to PS5, Series consoles, and PC January 27th. Dance of Death, Duloc and Fae comes to Xbox Series consoles and Xbox One January 27th. It looks like kind of an old school adventure game. This one I thought was a fun surprise. Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition coming to Series consoles and Xbox One January 31st.
Ooh.
I
never played the second one.
I'm sure I did on a computer back in the day. We Were Here Forever comes to PS5, PS4, Xbox Series consoles, Xbox One January 31st. Oh boy, Inculinati?
Sure.
That's how I'd guess, yeah.
That's a tough name. Coming to Xbox Series consoles, Xbox One, Switch, and PC, January 31st. A game that I'm actually quite looking forward to. Season, A Letter to the Future. Comes to PS5, PS4, and PC, January 31st. Brand new 3D platformer, SpongeBob SquarePants The Cosmic Shake. Comes with PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC, January 31st.
The trailer for that, by the way, is adorable. I don't know if you've seen the one that I saw with the kids, where they're interviewing the kids, talking about playing it.
Yes, where the kids like, it's the best game I've ever played.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love changing the costume to be like this and this and this. It's just like, it just made me smile.
I thought, it looked fun. I love that there's a lava level underwater.
Yep.
Which I know there is lava underwater, but it's just funny.
Yeah.
It's funny to see. Chef Life, a restaurant simulator, comes to PS5, PS4, Xbox Series consoles, Xbox One, Switch, and PC February 2nd. Deliver Us Mars looks pretty cool, coming to PS5, PS4, Xbox Series consoles, Xbox One, PC February 2nd. Braves Rage makes its way to PS5, Switch, and PC February 2nd. Tales the Backbone Preludes, another game I did not know was coming, comes to PC February 2nd. And then Fashion Police Squad, which looks like Doom, but you're helping people dress better. Comes to PS5, PS4, Series consoles, Xbox One, and Switch February 2nd.
Hey, you know how you said you were you wish people would think outside the box a little bit more? Fashion Police Squad is that, Zach?
I mean, certainly. It does look a lot like...
Certainly?
Sure.
Did you just say certainly? Because that fits perfectly for Fashion Police Squad.
Sure, that was definitely intentional. I assume we're all excited about Dead Space, right?
Oh, yes.
Yep, that's correct.
Like, I'm kind of debating what I'm going to do about my online game night on Friday if I have Dead Space in my hands.
Right, yes, because you and I are getting it from a friend, but it might not come on release day, so...
Right.
Yeah. But I am also looking forward to it. I don't think I would pay $70 for it if left to my own devices.
Mm-hmm.
It just feels like a lot for. Again, they should. I don't know. I've been thinking a lot about their trailers, and because it does look a lot different. There's even like part of the cast looks different.
Mm-hmm.
So why it may as well be a reboot.
Yep.
Anyway, that's
whatever it is. I'm playing it. And
yes, it looks great.
Yeah, same here.
Absolutely. Still messed up that the Corpse of Volition isn't even cold yet, but I'm excited to see how it sells because famously every Dead Space game failed its sales expectations.
Right.
But
that's why Volition was dismantled.
Right. And but the excitement for this seems through the roof. But I don't know if that's just the portion of the internet we're seeing, you know?
I also wonder if Callisto Protocol helped that because people picked up Callisto Protocol because they wanted a fresh Dead Space, didn't get that, and that's not me knocking on the game. It's just they did not get what they wanted.
No, they marketed that game incorrectly.
And this game is what they want. Clearly what they want.
Right.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Well,
I can't wait to sit in the dark with some headphones on and just, yeah.
And Alyssa, you're picking this up as well?
I am indeed.
Okay, great. What about runner-ups? Is there any other game? It's just there was such a clear winner. Because for me, I think a season of Letter to the Future looks great. I'm going to have to wait to play it because Dead Space will take priority. But it kind of gives me Lake vibes of you're just going around talking to people. You're like a bike messenger or whatever as the apocalypse is approaching. I think that's a fun little idea.
I'll say Age of Empires 2 just because I loved the original Age of Empires that I played on PC back in the day. I'm curious to see how that would translate to a controller. I mean, I know you just move the cursor around, but I don't know. There's something satisfying about using a mouse for a game like that, right?
But I mean, every modern video game menu just has you use your controller as a cursor anyway, so we should all be used to it.
Should.
Well, I'm also looking forward to a season of Lair to the Future because it looks like my kind of game.
Yeah, I'm with you. It looks up my alley.
Yes.
I know that was a bad word on the show for a while.
It was. We got called out for that multiple times. So let's talk about the games that we actually have been playing this week in terms of new ones. Alyssa, let's start with you because you have been playing a game called A Space for the Unbound. And I know you reviewed this. It is on our website right now. You spoke very positively about it. But I'm curious about how this game plays because you mentioned in the review that it was part point-and-click adventure, part visual novel, part puzzle game. What is this game?
It's pretty much everything you just described. It fits really well together. Mostly, I really loved it for the story and just the way it tackled everything it tackled and did it respectfully. But you are playing as a boy named Atma, and he has a dream where he and his friend Nirmala, if I say the names wrong, I'm sorry. There's no voice acting in this game. They're co-writing a book together. He wakes up from a dream and he's in his high school classroom and his girlfriend Raya is looking at him, but she looks exactly like Nirmala. And then just from there he finds out Raya has these powers where she can pretty much change reality or make an entirely new world herself just from thinking about it. But then she breaks the town they're in, which is in Indonesia. And he can use this book that... I know this all sounds confusing. There's this book that was in the dream. It was a magic red book, and it makes its way into the real world. He finds it, and he can use it to space dive into people's brains and help them. So the gist of the game is going around space diving into people's minds, helping them out, trying to just some of them are having crises where they're like, what do I do for a job? Some are mourning the fact that they don't have a close relationship with their family members, stuff like that, and you're helping them out. And when you do that, you solve puzzles or do stealth segments or do a fighting game mini game. So every space dive is different.
Speaking of Tim Schafer, sounds like Psychonauts a little bit.
It did remind me a lot of Psychonauts. Yeah, just jumping into people's brains. But it also really depicts depression well, and I can't really say how it does because that's a large part of the story, but I wasn't really expecting that, and I've been going through a pretty major depressive episode myself, so I related. I think it helped actually being in that kind of mood because I'm like, oh, I relate to this character. But it does have a screen that pops up before you even start playing that says it's going to mention depression, anxiety, and suicide, and if you need help, seek professional help. But there are several other triggers that do pop up as well in the game. And they're important to talk about, they're just really hard to sometimes deal with, and one did get to me. Nothing involving mental health or anything of that matter. But I really liked the game. Thought it was really powerful, and something that I think a lot of people would enjoy. If you're like a point-and-click adventure aficionado, the puzzles might be a little too easy for you. I only had two puzzles, actually, that messed me up, and one was just because I was thinking too outside the box. It was way simpler than what I was, like, trying to solve it with, and the other was algebra. You have to solve an algebra formula to find out this combination to a box that's locked with a padlock.
How complicated algebra?
It was basically, it wasn't really complicated, but I'm just terrible at math in general. So it'd be, I can't remember the exact formulas, but it'd be 3k plus 3n equals negative I, and you'd have to figure out what all the different letters meant. Like what number correlated, and yeah. I was like, am I gonna have to phone a friend for this? Because I'm not good at math, but I figured it out.
You can always call Scott, he's a teacher.
Yeah.
I was tempted, but then I figured it out, and I'm like, I'm a genius. I'm not, but I just figured it out. But I haven't had to do algebra since before I dropped out of college, so it's been a while.
Nice. So you're recommending people check this one out then? Because I think Mark Szymanski was interested in it and waiting patiently for your review.
I do recommend it. I will say do check the triggers. I do list them in my review, just in case, because it's not worth playing a game to, have a panic attack over it or become upset or anything. Like, I don't want anyone to go through that unnecessarily. But if you can handle it, I do highly recommend it because it is just a gem of a game.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for checking that one out. Again, it is a Space for the Unbound. You're playing it on Xbox, but it's available on other platforms as well. And there you have it.
And Scott, you've been playing Vengeful Guardian Moonrider. You've been excited for this one.
I have.
And it looks like a very classic. It looks, kind of like a Genesis game, right? That's what you would say?
Yeah, Genesis. Probably more Genesis than Super Nintendo, which is weird. I don't know why a game looks more like it belongs in the Genesis than Super Nintendo, but they definitely look different, right?
I actually do agree with you, and I somehow know what you mean. But I mostly wanted to give you some guff, because people always say it looks like a Super Nintendo game, but for once, I wanted to say Genesis. But it actually does look like a Genesis game.
It looks like a 16-bit era game. How about that?
Yeah, but more Genesis than SNES. Anyway, on the Switch, it looks rad. It looks like there's a few different gameplay. It seems like there's a good gameplay variety as well for the side-scroller.
Yes, I mean, most of the game is a 2D side-scroller. It feels very much like a chunkier Ninja Gaiden. And I'm talking original Ninja Gaiden.
I'm excited to hear that, because that's exactly what it looked like.
Yeah. Your character's obviously a lot taller than Ryu from the original Ninja Gaiden games. And again, I'm talking like the NES era. Ninja Gaiden 1, 2, and 3. Not when they redid it on original Xbox, but it is most of it is the 2D platforming and attacking your enemies. It's almost all melee based. It's not overly difficult. I mean, there's some tricky boss situations, but it's mostly that. But there are some extra stages like you're talking about. There's one where you're on a motorcycle and you're going, from like it's a racing game, but you're shooting down the robots.
Mode 7 graphics.
Yeah, that's what made me think of, was like Mode 7 graphics from the Super Nintendo era for sure. And there's even some other stuff, like you're jumping across airplanes at one point. It's just totally ridiculous. Yeah, it's crazy. The story is kind of hard to piece together. From what I can gather, you are one of these like cybergenetic androids that have been programmed by the government to basically keep the populace in line, more or less, but you have gone rogue and have decided and like got a conscience, and so you're kind of fighting against them, which is kind of cool because it makes for some interesting conversation pieces that you know, like you have a little conversation before a boss fight.
Sure.
And there was one, I wish I had written it down so I could give it to you verbatim, but I thought of you when I saw it, Zach, because I was like, man, Zach would like this line, because you come across this one enemy and he says, you know, you are evil embodied or something like that. You are the evil one. And your character basically says something to the effect of, I may be evil, but I am a lesser evil trying to stop a greater evil. And I just thought that was just a really cool line. Like, it wasn't like I'm the good guy. It's like, yeah, I've been programmed to be a bad guy, but here I am. So anyway,
I'm happy you think about me when you play games, though.
Yeah, I do. And so the story is there's not a ton there. I mean, just basic, like, you're a robot that used to be bad and now you're good and you're fighting against.
It's like it looked to me like RoboCop, but with a samurai.
That's a really good way to say
awesome.
it, with the giant horns. You know, all this.
Yeah.
It's really cool. This game does, like, I miss old school game over screens where, like, your character is dead and then, like, you press yes to continue.
Yeah.
And then, like, your character, like, comes to life, kind of. But
like
in this one,
the sad Buster Sword in the background and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
This one does, like, your character is just, like, slumped down on the ground, blood coming out of his mouth, dead, and you click yes to continue, and all of a sudden, like, a glint comes in his eye, and the head turns and looks at the camera, kind of like, let's go.
That's sick, bro. Yeah. It's like, yeah, I'm ready. Yeah, let's get back to it. He's ready too. Let's do it. Yeah,
I know.
That's
it's
cool.
Great. The combat it's very chunky. It feels very much like a Ninja Gaiden game, which it takes a little bit of getting used to, but they do some really cool things that I feel like I haven't seen in games before, where you have a run button, and if you attack while you're running, you kind of leap forward and do an attack that does more damage, which actually comes into play. You can actually kind of go through a level much quicker. Almost all the enemies take one or two hits, so it's not like you're spending it outside of the bosses and mini bosses anyway. So it's not like it's meant to be a speed run game, because they do the thing at the end of each stage where you get like a grade based on your points and the time and what artifacts you found in between. I only got one S ranking the entire time. Everything else was a D or an E. So
hey man, old school games are tough.
That's the thing though, is it's not super tough once you know what to do. And you start to like figure out the movement and how to do it, you really are able to just kind of fly through the levels. It becomes a memorization, and I caught myself starting to speedrun a little bit just because I was memorizing the enemy placement and all that kind of good stuff. Even the bosses, their patterns are relatively easy to figure out pretty quickly. Like, I rarely had to like start the level over. I was able to just rush through it. And by the way, the game is 2 or 3 hours long. You can bust through it. They do the Mega Man thing, where you can choose which level you want to in any order, and that doesn't mean you get like to you're going to use a weapon that you acquire and fight another boss. That's not what you do here. But what feels like Mega Man, more specifically Mega Man X, is you find these capsules like hidden throughout the levels, and they'd give you some kind of upgrade. The catch is that you can only have 2 upgrades on at one time. So like one upgrade will give you a double jump. One upgrade will lower the damage that you take. One upgrade will, every time you kill an enemy, give you hit points. Another one, if you kill an enemy, it will give you your mana, which, by the way, you've got these extra powers that are pretty awesome. But you can only have one at a time. So you start out with this one that's almost like a little harpoon thing that comes out and does more damage. You got another one that has like the little spinny things around you. You've got one that shoots out like a cyclone. That feels a little Mega Man-ish, I'm not going to lie. I don't know. It's a pretty rad game, man. It's a lot of fun. And it's got that, even though it's short, it's got that replayability if you want to go through and try to, S rank all the levels. It's awesome. I had a smile on my face almost the entire time playing this. And it's kind of sad that I say that it's a plus, like it's a pro for me that it's so short, but I like short games.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's okay. We bring it up.
It didn't ever say it's welcome.
Exactly. And but I want more of this. I know that there's so many indie games out there, and the pixelated graphics, but very rarely do we get one that really captures the 16-bit era. Like I feel like I'm playing a game that was made for Genesis. You know what I mean? Like it just
feel like you picked this up from the rental store.
Yeah. I really feel like I just discovered a hidden gem that I just never played from when I was a kid. But it's a brand new game. Came out last week. It is awesome. Vengeful, Guardian, Moonrider. If you love that era of games and you just love ridiculous stories and it's weirdly gory. Like it's pixelated gore. Like when you kill bosses, like they slice in half and then it like slides off of the top half of his body, kind of like in Mortal Kombat.
What is it? Is it Mortal Kombat's fault that all of us gamers just love gore?
Maybe. But it's all
not
super
reason.
pixelated.
I'm just weird.
That's understood.
I mean, we're all weird. We're all weird. So yeah, I am highly enjoying this game, and I'm seriously contemplating going through and doing it again, just to kind of.
It only takes a couple hours.
I know.
Also, that title
take longer.
Just sounds like the most incredible 80s movie ever.
Vengeful Guardian, Moonrider.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is what I played this week. Alyssa, you have been playing a brand new one, actually. I have never played a Fire Emblem game, but you got into Fire Emblem Engage, which is available only on the Switch. Now, have you played the other games in the series, or is this your first?
I've played 2 other games in the series. I played Fire Emblem Awakening, and then the previous game, Fire Emblem Three Houses. So this is my 3rd Fire Emblem game.
Okay. Now, I have heard some people that are diehard Fire Emblem fans complaining about what this game did. They've done something a little bit different. I don't know what that means. Can you explain what that means and if it's true?
I'm not really sure what they've done differently. I know in the previous game, Three Houses, it was more of a, just imagine like Persona, but it has Fire Emblem elements with it. So there is that whole, you were a teacher at this school and you could hold lectures and you could do side stuff like fish and have students do like gardening or whatever.
Child labor.
Yeah, this one doesn't have that. So
not only do you put children into the war machine, but you have them doing all of your errands too.
That's true, and have them sit at lectures and learn stuff.
Yeah, that's the dream.
But yeah, this does not have the school element. It's just you go into battles and then there's story cutscenes, and you have little. They're not really open world segments, but there are a sizable bit of property there that you can go around and search for items. You can adopt animals, which I do have a nitpick with the adopting the animal thing.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Some animals it will not let you adopt because it says you can't take care of them. I'm like, okay, cool, maybe I need to like get some kind of skill. No. It's just because you haven't donated to that country. Once you donate to the country, you can adopt the certain animals. I'm like, are you serious? I have to pay.
Welcome to the political world, baby.
I know. I'm like, in Fire Emblem, I can't adopt this donkey and this chicken because I didn't give a 1,000 whatever currency is used in this game donation to this country.
$10.
I love that the thing that Alyssa is most passionate about in this game has to do with the pets. Yeah, like, we haven't even talked about how the battle works.
I know.
Or, like, what kind of game this is. But damn it, I can't adopt the chicken.
Well, it's just because cool. I have to donate to the country before I can.
Hey, I understand. I got a chicken coop at my camp in Red Dead, and it changed my life. I just keep watching those little chickens. I understand.
But I mean, you do get bonuses from your animals after you adopt them. Like, the chickens will give you eggs, or, I don't really know what the cats do, but you can adopt cats and dogs. Horses give you manure. So, I mean, they do have a purpose.
This is probably why people are listening into a Fire Emblem discussion. They want to know.
Yeah, I should talk about the actual, like, meat and potatoes of it, but I just got off track.
Because your overview description actually makes it sound like a pre-Fire Emblem's Awakening game.
Right.
It does.
Which is kind of cool. It seems more like a traditional Fire Emblem. I was trying to get this conversation back on track a little. Sorry.
I mean, no, it's fine. It does remind me more of Awakening than Three Houses, because going back to the actual, like, why you play Fire Emblem, the battles are fantastic. I haven't done too many because I'm only on chapter 5, and you have about 1 to 2 battles per chapter, but they're so much fun. And I do have it on weenie mode, okay? I've got it on the casual mode, so, my team members, they don't permanently die. If they die in battle, they'll come back after the battle's over.
I would imagine that weenie mode is where most people play Fire Emblem.
Oh, yeah. Just the hardcore fans, I'm assuming, would want to play where it's permadeath.
Yeah.
But there is that option if you want to play that mode. So, and fun fact, there is not an easy mode in this game. It's just normal, hard, and...
Weenie?
No, it's monstrous or something like that. So, it just starts at normal.
Right on.
So, I thought that was kind of interesting that there's not an easy mode.
So is it the traditional Fire Emblem, the triangle combat where
Yes.
Okay.
Sword beats axe, axe beats lance, and lance beats sword. I believe that's
okay.
And then you have your healers and your crossbow wielders. The people that are on the horses.
Yeah, mounted troops, those are usually...
Yeah.
That can sweep a battlefield, I remember.
Yeah, I've got one that's my favorite right now, Vander. He's tough. He's great. But the cool thing about this game, though, is Fire Emblem Engage. So, your character is this divine dragon who's, been in a coma, basically, for 1,000 years. You wake up, and you get this ring, and you put it on, and you can, I can't think of the word. It summons, yeah, there we go, summons Marth, which... If you've played Fire Emblem before, that's a character from previous games.
And in
the guy from Smash Brothers.
Yeah,
and in Smash Brothers, yes.
The blue-haired dude from Smash Bros. Melee.
And then,
Roy, the redhead.
And you can engage with Marth or any other character after you get their specific ring and use specific battles.
Define engage, you know what I'm saying?
What was that?
Can you define engage, you know what I'm saying?
Got a ring.
Yeah, there's a ring.
The question.
You a little closer to Marth?
You do actually have a bonding level, and the more you bond, the greater your skills become because you get higher. You get higher resistance to stuff, or more armor, or not really more armor, but like 50% more protect. I can't think or talk right.
You get
right
some
now.
buffs. It's okay.
Yeah, you get buffs when you level up your bond with Marth, and that's just through doing engages, but you can only use an engage for 3 turns. And right now in these battles, since they're relatively short, you can pretty much only engage maybe once during a whole battle. I'm sure when it gets later on in the game where the battles are super tough and take forever, you can probably utilize it more. But yeah, you're just on the mission to find the 12 rings. And right now I have 3 of them.
Are all of the rings classic Fire Emblem characters?
Right now I have Marth, Sigurd, and Celica.
I can only assume that means yes. I don't know who
I would think
are.
so. I don't remember Sigurd or Celica.
Okay. I would, if they're doing Marth, I would think that they would all be kind of references. But I mean, those games go back to the Super Nintendo, right?
There's a lot of entries.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming the 12 rings are all 12 classic characters.
And just for people that haven't played Fire Emblem games, they're still doing the grid-based, like tactical combat here, right? This isn't like a traditional JRPG.
Yeah, you can move it. If the area is blue, you can move in that area to whichever space. If it's red, you can't move there. And certain people, such as the ones that are on horses, can travel further. And you just have to kind of split your team up in the best way possible so you can go on different routes and clear the area out. Because if you try to send your whole team in one direction, that's not a good idea. So
divide and conquer.
Yeah, it's all about the strategy.
Gotcha. And I read on Twitter that something that somebody talked about positively about this game is after a battle, they do this deal where instead of just like going back to the overworld map, you actually have the opportunity to go in and like have a conversation with your party members.
This
is
where
kind of a cool touch.
This is where you can have conversations. You can adopt animals that are in the land. That's where I got the adopt the animal thing before. You can find objects that are in the world, and you can spend as much time there as you want before you move on and progress the story. So it is a nice little, lovely touch. You can have a little break. And
nice.
Yeah. And also, your protagonist is fully voiced.
Is that a first?
I believe it's a first, because they were not voiced in Three Houses. So it's nice to hear your character. You could choose to be male or female. I'm playing as the female.
Yeah. Trying to woo some boys out there on the battlefield.
I don't know if there are romance options, actually.
Are you saying love can't bloom on the battlefield?
I mean, I would hope so, but I don't know if they have that in this game yet. I'm not far enough in to know.
I mean, they do say love is a battlefield. So.
That's true.
Well, I was quoting Metal Gear Solid. Can love bloom on the battlefield? Anyway, I noted, and I feel like this is somewhat unusual for me to note, how pretty the game was.
Oh yeah,
Switch title.
It's beautiful.
Because I'm not usually the graphics guy, but this game I thought looked pretty incredible.
It runs great during cutscenes, during battles. I mean, I haven't noticed a single glitch or technical issue or anything.
Yeah,
visually
for a system that chugs along with the horsepower of a 360, I thought it looked pretty remarkable.
It is really pretty.
Glad you're digging it. Fire Emblem Engage on the Switch. Before we move on to our last review, you may have reminded me of something, Zach. You mentioned Metal Gear Solid. Did you guys see in the news this week what happened with those AI robots that they're building? You know those like spider-looking dog things that they're making?
I did see the story.
So they decided they've been trying to test those things, and they've been trying to figure out ways to trick them. So they had like something like 8, not making this up, DARPA agents.
Right.
Actual DARPA agents, which is funny enough.
It's already Metal Gear Solid as it is.
Right. So they like challenged like 8 or 10 of them to try to sneak up on one of these AI robots, and if they got close enough to touch it before it recognized them as a human trying to, sneak up, then they would win. So people were trying to do outside the box type of things. Like one guy just did somersaults over and over again, and since the AI wasn't programmed to recognize somersaults,
so he went morph ball mode.
Right. He went morph ball mode. But the funnier one to me is 2 guys literally hid inside cardboard boxes.
They thought
and slowly
inside the box.
inched their way towards this thing. And I just thought it was hilarious because it actually worked.
So they tricked a Metal Gear by using a cardboard box.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That just seriously made me laugh. So you said Metal Gear Solid. I had to bring that up. I thought it was hilarious. So.
DARPA chief, huh?
Yeah, and the fact that it was DARPA, like it was like right there in the story. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. That's why they thought of it, right? Because
did it happen at a testing facility called Shadow Moses? Could it be any more on the nose?
I mean, the guy that was in charge was called Big Boss or something like that. So
that's perfect.
I don't know.
Yeah, I couldn't help but notice the eye patch. I assume you got that in combat.
Oh man. Anyway. We got one more review to share with you guys. Sean Coates stopped by to talk about a game that he's been checking out for you, and we're going to play it right now. Well, hello there, Sean. How you doing, man?
I'm good. It's another beautiful Saturday morning.
I don't want to hear about how beautiful it is in California, man. It is cold. It's all get out here. So
well, it's cold here too, at least for our standards.
Yeah, your standards is not cold. I'm just saying. But you were here to talk to us about Startup Company, which is a game from Hovgard Games. You've been checking this one out. It was given to us by Stride PR, and I'm not a big sim guy, but you were all over playing this one, especially because it was the first review game that you got to play on your brand new Nintendo Switch, which is pretty cool. So congrats on that.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm 6 years late to the party and all, but it's still better late than never.
So what drew you to wanting to check this one out? I wasn't even aware you were big into sim games.
Well, it actually kind of dates back to my time as if you want to call myself a PC gamer, because I never really had a strong PC growing up. Whenever my parents were in the market for a new computer for the household, the last thing on their mind was how well does it run games.
Right.
So, but of the games I could play were games like Age of Empires, SimCity, point-and-click adventures, things like that. So that's where I kind of gained my love for that kind of a genre.
Gotcha. So tell me about Startup Company. What makes this one, do you like it first off, and how does it work?
Not very much. I'm not digging this one, actually, unfortunately. And it's mostly due because of the games I like to play, like SimCity and Roller Coaster Tycoon, things like that, those are very creative driven. If you have a problem, you can solve it creatively by changing up your park, changing your city, doing something creative in a video game. Startup Company is just menu diving, and you're looking at charts and graphs all day.
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't my cup of tea.
All right. So is this just like a personal thing? Like it's just a game not for you, or do you
basically
do you think
yeah?
That there's a subset of people that will enjoy this.
I'm sure there are people that like looking at spreadsheets all day and whatnot. Not me, because there really isn't a lot of gameplay to this. There's like, so when you start a new business, quote unquote, you're given 6 options on what you want your business to be. Do you want it to be a social media platform? Do you want to be a streaming service? Basically, do you want to be the next Facebook? Do you want to be the next Steam, the next Netflix, that kind of thing?
Right.
So once you establish all that, you have to start hiring people, hiring developers, hiring designers. And all they do is they sit at their desk all day and just plug away. There's hardly any gameplay in terms of that, because when I saw the trailer,
you're not even setting up like your office, like arranging the desks and everything, and
that's about as far as the creativity goes. Is just making your office look pretty. But even then, like, okay, you can arrange the desks how you want them, how you want your office to look, but anything else, the people don't use the stuff that you decorate with. Like, you can give them a break room, give them a conference room, give them a lounge. They never use it. It's just purely aesthetic.
Okay. So how does the gameplay work then? What do you do when you're looking at spreadsheets, and how are you manipulating things to better run your business?
Well, your core developers and designers, they're just plugging away, creating resource components all day. And you can tell them what kind of resources, what kind of things to do. Like, do you want them to do coding all day, researching all day, or what else? They're just like making components that you then use. Like, okay, I want to make a splash page on my website that requires five codes and 5 design components. You got to mash them together.
Like a recipe.
Yeah. They're just your guys just crunching away at raw ingredients, and it's up to you to use that for recipes to create your website.
Okay. So you just have to basically tell them what to make. So it's almost like the resource building portion of a game like Age of Empires, but that's it.
Yeah.
Like there's not the element of, I mean, you get to, like you said, you get to build your office and make it bigger, but it's not as, doesn't sound like it's as fun as those, because you actually see your workers, go to those places, and, it actually helps with the actual battles or growing your empire, as it were. But,
exactly.
Okay.
And there really isn't, I haven't noticed any kind of a difference between, if you wanted to be a Facebook or a Netflix. Like, when I tried out my first game, I set it up as a streaming service, like a Hulu or a Netflix.
Right.
But you're not really doing anything special in those regards. Like, I haven't noticed any kind of a difference. Like, I'm not making deals with movie studios to get content on my upcoming business, or if I'm a dating app, I'm not making deals with other. It's like there isn't much of a noticeable difference in what type of business you choose to play as.
Interesting. Well, I mean, I know it didn't sound like it was a game for you, but I feel like it sounds like it's just not a game that's going to be for people like you and me. We want a little bit more reward for it outside of just the crunching the numbers, but I think some people would dig that.
Possibly.
Does the game functionally work well?
Yes, it does. Although I will say, because it's a sim game with a lot of menu diving, a lot of charts and whatnot, I don't recommend playing this game on Switch in handheld mode, just because the text is just too small.
Gotcha.
And because this is still technically, I'm still playing a pre-release build, none of the options are programmed yet. Like, I can't even adjust the volume of the game. Like, none of the options are programmed yet.
Wow. Okay.
Including the UI. I can't make the UI bigger or smaller. And so currently the UI is so big that their status updates and whatnot are bigger than the characters themselves. So even when I'm looking at my office, I'm just still looking at charts.
Gotcha.
There's no way to get around it.
All right. Well, that is Startup Company. Sorry you didn't enjoy it more, man. I really had high hopes for you on digging it.
I did too. Believe me. Like I said, I was all over you when I first saw it.
All right, man. Well, thanks for checking it out anyway. Do appreciate it. And I guess we'll check in with you next time, all right?
Yeah, thanks, man.
Not a problem. Have a good one.
You too.
Thanks so much, Sean. Appreciate you stopping by as always. Before we get to our topic of the week, I want to remind everybody about our social media outlets, facebook.com/groups/the GoCast. Please, if you get a chance, stop on over there and join the community. I try to keep it updated with news, fun memes, that kind of thing, but also access to all of our conversations with our great community. It is a blast over there. We got some new members over there, Alex Goulet and George Diaz. Welcome to the community. Also, our Discord server is live and thriving. That's usually where we do meetups for community game nights when we're not all meeting on Xbox. You know, if we do something cross-platform, we like to play on there, and we got lots of good conversations going there as well. Also, if you get a chance, drop us a review wherever you listen to the podcast, especially if you're on Apple Podcasts, because it does help us get the word out there about the podcast. We'd like to get into the ears of more people. Also, our website is thegamingoutsider.com. There you can find all of our written content, as well as every single episode. And Alyssa's review for A Space for the Unbound is actually up right now. You can go read it as we speak. But we're going to go ahead now and jump into this week's From the Outside In topic. Zach came up with this week's topic. He wanted to talk about mid-tier games, which we originally labeled as games that weren't AAA but had a higher budget than indies. This created some discussion on our social media outlets about what exactly is a mid-tier game. Some debated certain titles being considered mid-tier and wondered if the development costs or marketing budget are what determine a game to have this label. So Zach, since this was your topic idea, what in your mind constitutes a mid-tier game?
Well, it's fascinating seeing the conversation about it because I guess I hadn't really thought like what exactly constitutes mid-tier.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I always just viewed it as how Supreme Court views porn. You just know it when you see it.
Wow.
that was their ruling. But I guess ultimately it is a budget thing. It's definitely certainly above what an indie could do or even a small publisher might often do. But it is definitely below what the AAA games are doing, and that usually leads to a smaller marketing push. And people came up with a lot of great examples for games that would constitute that. But I think a great example of like a mid-tier game is Shadows of the Damned, which I'm sure Scott will talk about more. Just because it is technically published by EA, but it was also an EA Partners game, and it didn't have the budget that an EA game normally has, or the marketing push behind it. Mm-hmm. So it's just kind of this little B-tier sort of effort.
Okay, what about you, Alyssa? Where does that fall for you?
I'd say the same as that, between AAA and indie, just in the middle there. They have, a publisher and distributor. They have a budget, but it's not as high as a AAA. Might not be as polished or as pretty, but it's not like indie level where someone's self-funding it or they have a very small budget or anything of that nature. Just kind of in the middle.
Okay. I think it's easier for me to say what games are not mid-tier than it is to say what games are mid-tier.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, if you see a commercial for it on television, that is not a mid-tier game. Like, it's just, but that's also from a budgeting standpoint. When Zach originally pitched this idea, I looked at it from a development standpoint, because you could have a really expensive game that doesn't have a lot of marketing, and it wouldn't be considered mid-tier, and vice versa. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think we're all kind of on the same page. I just think it means something that is not a massively expensive game. I mean, you could even define it like by the number of developers, the number of staff making that game, right?
Like 100 and under.
Yeah,
a double A.
Mm-hmm. So, and it doesn't have to be just AA. It could be single A. It could be. I mean, we're getting into rankings. Yeah. We could spend a whole episode on
a made up terminology.
Right. It's just something that we've invented as gamers, like some
Perfect Dark, the world's first quadruple A game coming soon.
Quadruple? Did they call it a quadruple A game? I don't remember.
You remember that in their hiring files? It says the world's first quadruple A studio.
The original Perfect Dark or Perfect Dark Zero?
The new one that they're making at the Initiative.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. But
yeah, quadruple A. That's why they had to have Crystal Dynamics come in and help out.
well, they made it that quadruple A.
That's right. It was triple A and then Crystal Dynamics brought the single A they have now from Avengers.
Do you guys think that mid-tier games are becoming a thing of the past? I mean, we certainly don't seem to get as many of them these days. I feel like everything is either just this high-budget game or it's considered an indie.
I mean, I see that as well because when you think about it, I mean, like you said, it's either, if you're going by price point, a $60, $70 game at launch, $20 or less. There's not really a middle ground a lot these days. Now, there is the recent release of Evil West, which I'm sure.
Right. I mean,
that would be considered?
Definitely. That whole studio, like their Shadow Warrior games before that, like they live in the mid-tier world.
And what's interesting is you mentioned price point. If it's a $60 or $70 game versus a $20 game, but that is a $60 game that I would still consider to be a mid-tier game.
Oh yeah, for sure. And price doesn't always dictate that, but
yeah, a lot of the ones on my list, I still feel like were $60 games at launch.
Yeah. Price doesn't do it to me because to me they have to charge $60 because they know they're going to sell less copies than the competitors. So if you sold it at $40, you probably sell the same amount of copies to the same kind of audience.
Right.
You'd be using that money.
Yeah. Well, let's start. We're going to do it a little bit backwards. I wanted to start with the listeners' picks here.
Okay. Well, Scott, you and I didn't weigh in on why we think mid-tier has gone away.
I'm in a rush, apparently. I apologize.
Yeah, where you going, man? I was just going to say, I think what made me think of this topic was I feel like we're seeing a little bit of a comeback with Evil West or Solstice last year, and Wanted Dead's around the corner as well.
Stray,
another great example. I feel like it's coming back a little bit, which is exciting to me because this is where I think ideas usually come from because AAA often can't or they won't take the gamble on doing weird stuff, or they're not going to make a game about a cat for $120 million.
They would sell.
I'm saying even if it's sold, but they're not going to take the chance on it.
Right. Yeah.
They're going to say it's because of rising development costs, but that's an invented problem, not a real problem. And it's nice that I guess the tool sets are getting to the point, and I think the new Unreal Engine is also good for this. But the tools are where smaller studios can start to make more interesting 3D games because indie games obviously usually a lot of indie games are 2D, and it feels like mid-tier games they're usually in 3D. And they're usually
that's a good point.
It is.
I feel like when now that you think of that, you say that I'm just even looking through my list that I'm going to talk about. Everything that I'm on my list is in 3D.
Right.
Like there's no like 2D side-scrolling mid-tier games. Although I would probably consider something like Shovel Knight almost to be mid-tier.
I was going to Shadow Complex.
Yeah,
that's
that would probably
great
be
game.
Yeah, that would still be considered mid-tier.
But I think the tool sets are the reason why, like for the PS4, Xbox One era, it seemed like this kind of game, the mid-tier was just dead.
For a long time. And like you said, we're getting a little bit of a resurgence, but I also am very fearful for the future of it because we're the old guys now, guys. These games are made for us, right? We've been having a little bit of conversation offline about the future of games and what kids are playing now, and I feel like that could be a really interesting topic later on that we could talk about what kids are playing now and if that's going to dictate the market when they become adults.
Is this because of your Philosophy of Zelda book again?
Yes, it is actually. Yeah.
That's
I'm telling you, man. I really want you to read that book. I really do.
I feel like it's changing your life.
It's making me think about games in a completely different way, which I love. I love when it does that. And it's making me go back to play a Zelda game, so that's awesome. But yeah, I feel like there's going to be there's not going to be a market for single player games as much in the future. It's going to be all about multiplayer and all about cosmetics and all about domination.
I think it is at the AAA level. I like Ubisoft or PlayStation, especially with their 10 service game initiative. I think that stuff is going to take away from the AAA big budget single player games we want to see. But I think the mid tier is gonna. It seems like they're gonna come in and maybe fill that space a little bit, and they may not be as pretty or, extravagant as what we're used to. But I still think we can get some kind of single player game still.
But I think people like the three of us here are okay with that. I would much rather have a 8 to 10 hour game that looks good than a 40, 50 hour game that just blows my mind with its graphic.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Well, I want those hours to count.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't want it filled with bloat and padding and all that kind of stuff. Just. I mean, I know you're still probably working through Evil West, but that game just feels like it's pushed to 11 throughout most of the game. You know what I mean? There's no down moments, there's no dull moments, and it's a good, 8 or 10 hour game. So
right, it seems like the perfect length. I want to play more of Evil West, but I feel like I gotta almost get it on PS5 or get a new Xbox because it's been getting rough.
Oh, has it?
Oh.
Yeah, playing on that as the game gets more intense. Playing on that original Xbox has just been getting tougher and tougher on my little box. I gotta get the freaking Series S. But anyway, that's a whole other thing.
It's so weird to think that I'm spoiled having that console because do you have an X or do you have just like an original Xbox?
Just original Xbox.
Okay,
One.
So you didn't even upgrade to the X or anything like that. So
no.
But yeah, I mean, when that game console first came out, it just felt like it just ran like butter, and now it's chugging. That's just kind of crazy.
Right, for a game that, no offense, could definitely have run on, 360 with the right optimization.
Right. It'll be really interesting when you do finally upgrade at least to an S, and just hear you be like,
I need to get an S because Starfield's coming out, and I'm going to want to play that.
That'll fill up your entire hard drive, probably.
It's probably true.
That one game. So, all right. Well, I want to get into some of our favorite mid-tier games, but I'm going to flip it this week a little bit because we just had a ton of really great responses from the community, and I thought we'd start there because I feel like the community took most of my picks anyway. So I don't want to take it away from them. So let's start over on Facebook. Alyssa, why don't you kick things off with our first comment over there?
Well, our first comment is from Grant Henry, whom has been on this podcast several times. We love Grant Henry.
The most effortlessly cool person I know.
He is very cool. He also does the music for the podcast. Anyways, he writes, some of my favorite games are mid-tier games. They aren't afraid to stray from realism, and many of them seem to go for gameplay first instead of, quote, cinematic, unquote, first. Some of my faves include Metal Arms, Darksiders 1, Enslaved, Odyssey to the West, and Singularity. Side note, I'm playing Deadly Premonition right now, and wow, that is barely a B game, but I'm loving it so much.
You guys talk about Deadly Premonition all the time. I've never played it.
I think that's just me.
Yeah, I've only played a few hours of it. I really do want to play more of it, though.
I just love it because it's basically Twin Peaks as a video game.
I love it because, it's just the game is so weird. For a game of that budget to be open world and also, you have to, take baths, right? And shave and stuff.
Yes, you have to shave, take baths, feed yourself.
Because you can't make sure
And every character has their own schedule, so if you go at the wrong time, you just can't interact with them.
But they all look like, PS2 character models.
They do.
So it's just funny that the amount of detail that goes into their lives, and then they look ridiculous. But that game seems awesome, and
it is.
The main character has an imaginary friend he talks to the whole game named Zack.
That's true, and I felt so bad on one episode. I kept calling the main character Zack. I'm like, no. Afterwards, I'm like, that was his imaginary friend.
Right.
The main character is Francis.
Yeah, and he's always telling Zack about 80s movies and stuff. But hyper specific stuff. The filming.
Yeah.
The film
Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
Yeah. It was actually made with a 55mm film stock instead of the 35, which led to an increase in bloom light. You're like, what?
Yeah.
Why is this game? It's awesome.
You could tell Swery65 is very much into films.
Right. And you couldn't have that kind of craziness in a big budget AAA.
That's a good point.
Yeah, it would never work.
Grant had two on his list that were actually on my list originally, and that is Enslaved, Odyssey to the West.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I want to go back and replay that
That was
game.
a really good game.
Someone who recently replayed it, it's awesome.
Still holds up?
Dude, it holds right up. No worries about that at all.
I'm gonna have to check that. That one's got to be. I feel like my options are so much more open now that I've got a Steam Deck.
Right.
Because these games are difficult to go back and play on console because if they're not backwards compatible for the Xbox, I'm kind of screwed. But I can go pay whatever. I don't even know how much it is on Steam, but I did actually pick up Singularity because of this topic.
Yeah, we kind of peer pressured you into that.
Oh man, I love Singularity. Like when I saw it when we first posted this topic. Not only Grant, but somebody over on Twitter, let's see, Brian M. Sammons, at Brian M. Sammons, said Singularity. He said, I really like this one. No one ever talks about it anymore. You're right, man. When that game released, I feel like nobody talked about it then either. I feel like it just kind of flew under the radar.
Which is weird because it's an Activision game. You think they would, but I guess that it proves the mid-tier point of the marketing push because I feel like there was no marketing for Singularity.
Mm-hmm. And didn't that one also have, what's his name? Voice acting?
Nolan North?
Nolan North, yeah, was the main character in that game.
Actually, I think he was a side character, but yeah, he was a central figure.
Gotcha. But. What a great game. And one that was not afraid to try something different. That had like parallel universes where you like shoot portals and
when you could like couldn't you age up stuff in the environment, right? Like if there was a broken
stairs
barrel, you could fix the barrel and now you have an explosive barrel you can use in the fight.
Yeah.
Kind of
like in the middle of a fight, you could do that kind of stuff.
I don't think I've played this game, so
you need to. It
has an atmosphere somewhat similar to BioShock, but during the Cold War.
That sounds really cool.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, they did the audio diaries much like BioShock did as well, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Right, and just kind of the oppressive vibe of the kind of destroyed environment you're in. But that's an awesome game. I would love to replay Singularity. I remember there were multiple endings as well because it's kind of a time travel-y story.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
It was $8 on Steam. I was like, I'll buy that for $8.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, Metal Arms Glitch in the System. Shout out Xbox PS2 title. That was a fun one.
Never played that one.
Perfectly.
I didn't either.
It was a great little third-person shooter, but you were like little robots shooting other little robots. But then and then Darksiders obviously incredible.
Would you believe I've never finished Darksiders 1? Like that's a Scott Clark game all over, right?
I would not believe it because you haven't seen the ending.
Mm-mm.
Oh my god, that's a really great ending.
Isn't that one have Mark Hamill playing the shopkeeper in that one too?
He's your Navi.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's your Navi. I thought he was a shopkeeper for some reason.
No, he's your dude on the shoulder.
Yeah, I need to go back and finish that one.
I think you'd really like it.
It's Zelda. It's straight up Zelda.
Yeah, no bones about it. The sequel's less so, but that first game is straight up Zelda.
Yeah. The second one is more like a looter.
It's actually more of Diablo from a behind the back perspective.
Right. Which is weird, but
they reduce the puzzles quite a bit. And then the third game is just a Souls.
Yeah. So every game's like a different genre.
Right, which is pretty cool.
Then they had the other one that was actually like more like Diablo.
I can't remember what the name of it was.
Well, it's funny because that one's actually not very much like Diablo in terms of gameplay. It just happens to be a top-down perspective, but it was it was really more of a twin-stick kind of shooter, honestly.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because Strife, the horseman in that game, has dual pistols.
Mm-hmm.
So every horseman had their own genre.
Oh, that's
they're
cool.
done.
And they will never team up. The four horsemen shall never gather.
That's too bad. Could you, man? Felt like they were doing the Avengers thing and like getting rampant up for something awesome.
Well, I mean, that's what we all thought was going to happen.
Except which genre would you go for then at that point? You've done shooter. You've done like a Zelda type game. You've done
Marvel's Avengers.
All right, you're up, Zach.
Tim Paulin writes in, Enslaved is amazing. Absolutely, yes it is. I'll add Remember Me, great game.
Mm-hmm.
The Puppeteer and Dante's Inferno. I'm going to rebuttal Dante's Inferno.
So it's not mid-tier?
That game had a Super Bowl ad.
Did it?
Oh, I didn't realize that.
I didn't realize that either.
And the tagline was "Go to Hell," which is awesome.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it's
that
apropos.
Dude, it's pretty cool. You remember Xbox 360 had those little avatars?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
One of them was one for Dante's Inferno was just "Go to Hell."
Like on his T-shirt or whatever?
No, I'm sorry, profile pictures. You know, you could buy profile pictures for like $1 or whatever.
Oh, profile pictures. Yeah.
One of them was just go to hell. It was pretty
Wow.
cool. Pretty ballsy.
You can't get that as your gamer tag, but you can have it as your background image.
Yeah.
Definitely. But dude, Remember Me is so great.
I love that game.
That's Don't Nod, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was Don't Nod.
Their first game, I believe.
I think that's right, yeah. And it was supposed to be a PlayStation exclusive. And then they canceled like 3/4 of the way through, but let them shop it, and then Capcom picked it up. It's a pretty savvy move from Capcom.
Yeah.
I never played that one. I actually owned it for a while and never played it. I had a physical copy of it. I don't know why or how I got rid of it, but
it's pretty great. It's only like 6 hours.
It's really short.
Yeah, and it's fun because you have to like go into people's memories and rebuild their deaths, basically.
That was the best part, honestly, doing that.
Yeah, I mean, they all the parkouring around was cool. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But that was definitely its unique thing.
What is The Puppeteer? I don't know that one.
Oh, it was a Sony Japan title from one of their
everything
studios.
was made out of, it looked like it was made out of like wood or felt or whatever. Like, kind of like Little Big Planet graphically,
okay.
but it was a darker story than that.
Kind of like almost like a, that's about right. Little Big Planet. Gives you kind of Tearaway vibes if you know that game a little bit.
Sure. Paper Mario-esque.
Yeah, in terms of the look.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Chip Halt says, I'd say Control, although not technically a AAA title. It looked and played like one. It told an intriguing story, and I thought the service weapon was an inspired mechanic. I love that game, and I'm definitely looking forward to the second one, which might be a AAA title. See, I'm like, I always thought Control was a AAA title, but I think it was just because every podcast I listened to was talking about it so much.
Right, and it's just because Remedy is that talented. Because the in a rare move, the budget was public. It was only a $25 million game.
Wow,
that's pure insanity. And the sequel is only going to be a $50 million game, so it's actually still going to be a mid-tier title.
But it didn't do well, right? Which is weird. I feel like everyone said the game did not do very well. Is it just because it was not a AAA game, didn't get the budget?
I don't know why people said that. Yeah, it did very well.
Did it? I thought you were saying that the game didn't sell as well as like most other games that everyone was talking about.
It like didn't chart very high, but it consistently sold.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
So if around launch I might have said it didn't do very well, which would have been true. But over time it has been such a hit that they're doubling the budget for the sequel.
I had such a good time with that game.
And they're getting to make it, and they're getting to make Alan Wake 2.
Which I'm so excited about.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, no, dude, the Remedy universe, I'm stoked.
All right, Alyssa, you're up.
Sean Coates writes, only one that comes to mind at the moment is Terminator Resistance.
Hell yeah.
While it's based on an iconic IP, the studio Teon isn't exactly a AAA developer. Plus, even though I'm a massive fan, I wouldn't exactly consider the Terminator franchise to be popular these days. That's mostly because the last 3 or so movies have been lackluster in trying to course correct the franchise. As a result, the game flew under most people's radars, and most of the professional critics that did play it were pretty harsh, giving mostly 4 or 5 out of 10 scores. Though interestingly, the user scores were 8 or 9 out of 10. Anyways, you could tell they didn't have a huge multi-million-dollar budget to work with, and it felt limiting at times, but they made the most of it and pulled off an immersive Terminator story. Of course, you can read my full thoughts at thegamingoutsider.com, wink wink. I have a feeling Teon's upcoming RoboCop game will be the same way. Don't get me wrong, I really want to play it. It's actually the game I'm most looking forward to playing this year, above all the upcoming heavy hitters, but I'm betting it's still not going to be a big budget title. P.S. Dibs on reviewing it.
Yeah, he's been talking about wanting to review that one since it was announced, so. Yeah, it's another one I've never played.
I haven't played it either, but I do love the Terminator franchise.
I played... Oh, no, wait. I played Terminator, the one based on the movie that you like, Zach. Which
Salvation?
Salvation. I played Terminator Salvation, which I thought was actually pretty fun.
I thought it was fun as well, though this game is better. Resistance.
Is it?
But it is in the apocalypse robo feature, which is the best part of Terminator.
Sure. Yeah. I like it.
Yeah, it is weird. Terminator is not popular. Nobody ever sees any of the Terminator movies.
Not the new ones.
Yeah,
I did.
Well, yeah. According to the box office, you and like 4 people.
I didn't see. Was the last one like Genesis, but they spelled it weird?
Actually, the last one was Dark Fate.
Dark Fate. Okay, I didn't see that one or Genesis.
Well, much to
I
Sean's
saw them
point,
both in the theater.
Oh my god! Let's say, much to Sean's point, it's hard to keep them track because every single one reboots the storyline somehow.
Yeah,
so
they do.
I forget which order they go in. But the RoboCop game should be good, right? I'm not a big RoboCop dude.
I gotta go watch the original movie. I haven't seen that in
I love the original movie. Never seen the sequels, but
I remember the first time I watched it. I was well into my adulthood, so it wasn't 30 years ago. Now that I think about it, but I was like, "Wait, Red Foreman is in this show as a villain? Sign me up!" So, thought that was pretty cool.
What's his name? He's got a real name.
Kurtwood Smith.
There it is. Yep.
Actually, I read an interesting thing. You know the opening scene in that movie where he walks in the police station and like spits on the paperwork with like he's bleeding from the mouth and he just spits on the paperwork. Like that wasn't in the script. He just did it, and like the people. So when the people react to that, they didn't know he was gonna do that, and they just ran with it. I thought that was kind of cool. So
yeah, that's cool.
Yes.
All right, next one comes from Aaron Peterson. He just says Bulletstorm. Man,
I love Bulletstorm.
Bulletstorm was so much fun. That's a rare game that I played through a second time.
Really?
Yeah. Like I think yeah.
Did you play through the Duke Nukem version of it?
I did.
Was it good?
What am I doing? Yeah. It's fun.
Because all the other characters' dialogue is still as though it's the main dude, right?
Right. They don't even like react that he sounds like Duke Nukem.
So he just keeps going like, "I'm not that guy." Or something like that, right?
It's really funny.
Yeah. That sounds pretty. That's an amazing use of an IP you've acquired.
Mm-hmm. And also, another game that took a chance on doing something completely different and just focusing on deaths. Like,
yeah, well, the creative ways to do them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like shoving
kicking guys into a cactus.
I was gonna say overgrown cactuses, absolutely. And that sweet little grappling hook thing you had, where you helped like make people float or whatever for a bit.
Lasso.
Yeah, Bulletstorm ruled.
It was great. All right, Zach.
Sure. Jumping over to Discord, Kevin Honigford, our producer, writes in, "I have never really been able to wrap my head around the lines that separate AAA from AA and so on. Within reason, a lot of times I wouldn't know if a game is AAA versus AA, and let's say looked at the actual numbers behind the scenes for the budget. Kingdom Come Deliverance and Divinity Original Sin are two that come to mind as an example. I enjoyed them so much that if I would not have looked at conversations behind the scenes, I never would have guessed they would be called AA."
Yeah, sometimes I feel like AAA, AA is just like whatever people want it to be. Like there's not like really a hard line anywhere, right?
I'm saying this is a feeling. It's a feeling out there.
Yeah, Paul Hine actually echoed and said, "My buddies and I played the crap out of Divinity 2 when we were in a D&D slump and want to do something of that sweet battle map action. It was better than some AAAs at the time for sure. Such a good game." I've heard people talk about the Divinity games highly, and I've just never gotten. I mean, they're PC only, right? That was probably my excuse at the time.
I believe they are. I don't know if any have been ported to console or not.
I will look into it, but
no, Divinity's on PS4.
Okay.
Yeah, early, or I'm 85 to 90% sure. I did really want to play Kingdom Come Deliverance. I sort of kind of forgot that came out, because that's a game where you have to like actually sharpen your swords and stuff, right?
Sure.
Sounds
I think
cool.
so.
Divinity and Divinity Original Sin 2 are both on Xbox as well.
Okay.
So.
Whatever. Kevin has good taste in game. I try. If he likes Kingdom Come, I'll play Kingdom Come.
Yeah.
Screw you, Sat.
It's $50 right now, but
Divinity?
No, Divinity Original Sin 2 is $50 digitally.
Yeah.
Well, but I hear that's a lot of game.
Yeah.
Well, also I'm sure you could find it physically for $15 somewhere.
Probably. All right, Alyssa, one more over on Discord for you.
Tim Thane writes, "As one example I can think of, Star Wars Rogue Squadron. Definitely not an indie and not AAA. It came out for $40 and it shows, but still an enjoyable game."
I did not remember that game came out for $40.
I didn't either.
I'm not old enough to be educated in this conversation.
Man, I love
It just
that
came
game,
out
though.
a couple years ago, didn't it?
No, that's Star Wars Squadrons.
Oh,
Yeah.
Never mind.
We're talking about the Nintendo 64 game.
never mind. I'm thinking of the wrong game.
Unless he is talking about Star Wars Squadrons. Because that did come out at $40.
No, he wrote Star Wars Rogue Squadron. I just got it mixed up with Star Wars Squadrons.
No, I know.
There we go.
I'm saying, I don't know. I was just trying. Maybe he got confused.
Yeah.
Or maybe we got confused. I don't know.
You know what? Maybe I bet you he is talking about Squadrons then, because I do know that one was a $40 game.
Right. Well, it could be either way. Either we could be wrong. He could be wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But yeah, when he said Star Wars Rogue Squadron, I was thinking he was talking about the original Nintendo 64 game, which is a freaking great game. I love that game.
Yeah. Stunning game.
I would love it if they just remade that to look like Squadrons.
Right.
Like just exact same game.
Because I know we were excited for Squadrons, but I didn't play more than a couple hours. Something about
I
it felt
know.
off. It
That
just
and
didn't feel
Chorus.
right to me.
I know, it didn't feel right.
Chorus. Yeah, Chorus is great.
I never got very far on that, and I was so stoked for that.
I got most of the way through.
Last one comes from Gunny Chief at Kane Marston. He is from the Horrible Gamers podcast. He says The Saboteur is one of my favorites. Earth Defense Force Insect Armageddon is another good game. Zach, I know you love The Saboteur. I've never played it.
That was the inspiration for
Yep.
the topic, really, because I was just thinking about The Saboteur. I was kind of thinking about Pandemic in general, who might have been the kings of the mid-tier, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Destroy All Humans, Mercenaries, The Saboteur. These are all exquisite games made on a moderate budget. Dude,
Right.
The Saboteur was so good because it was in black and white until you freed a district of Nazi oppression, and then the color would return to the world in that area.
That's so clever. And like,
What an amazing mechanic!
mm-hmm. Man, I want to play that one. I wonder if that one's on Steam.
You just need to have the app up at all times.
Seriously, this whole episode is just me like buying games that I have never played on before, and I can't play them on current consoles, so I'm just going to buy them for my Steam Deck.
I wonder if the Saboteur is on Xbox backwards compatibility.
Dude, you find out.
No.
I would rather play it there.
Do you remember? I don't know if you guys remember this. There was a pre-order bonus for the Saboteur to unlock nudity.
Seriously?
I did not
Do
know
you
that.
remember
No.
that? Or I think you could pay $10 to unlock it separately, because this is when EA was big on the online passes. Yeah, because there are little the Parisian dancing girls with all the feathers and stuff. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about?
No.
I never played the Saboteur, but
I'm talking about they're real, but I don't know what to like. I think
Okay.
they're like a burlesque show, but basically
Yeah.
the DLC would just make it so that their tops were off,
Oh.
and it was just the funniest pre-order bonus in the world. You know, make sure to pre-order so you can see some boobs.
Yeah. Wasn't that one like we get to climb the Eiffel Tower?
Yes, yeah, it had all the kind of parkour of Assassin's Creed, but a little bit more challenging because Assassin's Creed eventually you could just climb straight up a mountain. But yeah, it was great because it had these little platforming challenges, and then you could set these little traps for the Nazi checkpoints. Dude, Saboteur rules. I want to play it right now.
It is on the Xbox store, but I don't see like a buy now button.
Oh, so you have to own it yourself, like 50 cent.
I don't know, but dude, I would be okay buying a physical copy to go play that game.
Yeah, it can't
Man.
be that much.
Can we just like pause new releases for a while and just focus on games that we never got to play for a little
Give me
while?
just you could probably give me 5 years, and I could probably be comfortable.
Yeah, I agree. Well, thank you everybody for all the responses. You guys took most of mine, although I have a few
What
left
about-
on my list.
What about Brian M. Salmons on Twitter?
Well, I read it already.
Did you?
Yeah,
Mhm.
when because
Oh,
Grant
you
talked
did,
about
you're right, yes.
Singularity. So
You effortlessly put it earlier in the show, and now I've derailed it.
it's all good, man. It's all good. So which ones did they miss that you guys had on your list? We'll start with Zach, because I assume his is going to be quite lengthy.
Dude, I don't know. I mean, it was pretty good gamut here. You know,
Mhm.
I'm sure I did have a bigger list. I should have maybe written them down better, but dude, I mean, the Saboteur was the big one I wanted to talk about. But Enslaved is a really great example of this,
Mhm.
kind of game, and it's just, I don't know. There were a lot, and maybe not all of them are your favorite game ever, but they all did something sort of unique.
And they
No,
all like left a mark, even though they weren't like massively huge games at the time. You know what I mean? Like you remember them so well.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't forget the color mechanic in the Saboteur because it's just such a unique idea,
Mm-hmm.
and no one else did it really.
That is cool. Did you have any others, Alyssa?
Well, I definitely, like Grant said, I love Deadly Premonition. It's one of my top favorite games of all time. It's not gonna be for everyone, but if you can play it, definitely get the director's cut and play it because it's something unlike anything else you'll ever play. But I also really love Vanquish. That was one that kind of just flew under the radar, but it was so good. And it's by Platinum Games.
Great example. That game was only like 5 hours, but you'll never forget it.
Yeah, it's so memorable and
Never finished it.
Oh my gosh.
I was terrible at it. I could not get good at that game. I don't know what it was. That's one where you could like slide. Like
Yeah,
you
you
could
could
slide
slide.
and shoot at the same time. Like it was part of the mechanic, right?
yeah, and you smoked it. You smoked.
Right.
Yeah, there
There's
was cigarettes. I remember
a
that.
designated button to smoke.
Oh my goodness, you're making me think of a game and I cannot remember the title of it. It was a game where you were shooting robots. And like while you were shooting them, they would like the pieces would fly off and you'd see them slowly deteriorate.
Binary Domain.
There we go. Binary Domain was a great game.
Dude, that game's awesome.
I didn't even have that one on my list. I just thought of it when you said Vanquish because I don't know what they came out about the same time.
Well, they're both like from Action Studios that decided to do a shooter as a one-off.
Right.
Yeah, because that's from the Yakuza developers.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I didn't know
yeah,
that.
it was. Yeah.
Crazy. Anyway, sorry to cut you off because I was going to forget it.
No More Heroes, would that be a mid-tier game?
I would say probably yeah.
Yeah.
I love No More Heroes.
Lollipop Chainsaw.
Lollipop Chainsaw, great example. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great
I
first
actually
half of that
really
game.
like that game.
I remember liking it. I don't know if I could replay it.
I don't know if I could.
Yeah, I don't know if I could
couldn't finish
either.
it.
But Shadows of the Damned, obviously.
Yes,
Mhm.
Shadows of the Damned.
Big Johnson.
That one scene alone, that turret sequence. Anyway, yeah, keep going.
I'm trying to think now.
Well,
I mean,
I gotta.
The original Nier, before
Definitely,
Nier Automata
Yeah.
blew up, I love that game, and I would say that's probably was a AA game.
I would probably
is
still consider Automata to be mid-tier.
yes, you're right.
So
Absolutely.
both. We'll say both.
Just very profitable one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's got an anime now, so
I mean, that's got to be one of Square Enix's most profitable games ever, based on budget to return.
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
All right, I've got a couple on my list that you guys hadn't mentioned. I'm shocked that neither of you mentioned Spec Ops: The Line. I feel like that.
I
is,
love that game, man. I don't know why I didn't think about it.
like perfect example. Homefront Revolution kind of falls in that category
Oh,
too.
yeah, you're right. Which is weird because the first one was like this one of THQ's biggest pushes ever.
Yeah, I did not like the second one. The second one was terrible. I don't remember what the second one was called.
The Revolution.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I have the wrong one. I had the wrong one in my mind. What was the first? Was it just Homefront?
Yeah,
it was just Homefront. But it was also
Homefront was great.
It was great. And it's funny because it definitely played like a mid-tier game, but they marketed it like it was going to be the next big shooter. Remember, they like released a bunch of balloons over San Francisco that all fell into the bay and stuff.
I was
You
just
remember
going to say that. What a weird marketing strategy that was. This one's a little bit newer, but I would still consider It Takes Two to be a mid-tier game.
Yeah, and A Way Out as well.
Way Out, yeah.
Mhm.
Brothers, that one was really good
Yeah.
too.
So the EA Brutal Legend, right? The EA
Brutal
Partners,
Legend, yeah.
EA Partners program, man, has delivered some genuinely iconic or at least memorable video games.
How about Split Second? That racing
was
game
cool.
where
Yeah.
that was a good one.
Made by Disney.
Lost Odyssey.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
No, Lost Odyssey is a big budget.
You think so?
It's a huge budget, yeah.
Okay. We'll shut
You're
my
talking,
mouth.
you're talking about the JRPG, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm, yeah, that was
The
a
one
big-
that like it was on sale recently, and Wario64 on Twitter posted it, and he actually put like the image, but back when they first released it, someone had turned it into a meme and just put Final Fantasy 13 over it. It was before Final Fantasy 13 actually like came out because it totally looks like a Final Fantasy game, but
So you might be proving that sometimes the line is pretty blurry.
Gun.
Hell yeah.
I would say that's totally mid-tier game, and I actually almost bought that one this week, but I can't tell if it's compatible on my Steam Deck or not.
That was
but-
made in between Tony Hawk releases.
Oh, it's such a fun game. I wonder if I got the disc, if it would still play on my Xbox. It would have to, right?
I don't know. Well, some games don't.
Is that okay?
Yeah, Grand
That
Theft Auto 3
and
doesn't.
Crimson Skies, High Road to Revenge.
Yeah.
Would you consider that mid tier?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Kinda. But it's so historically significant that it's hard to think about because it was one of the big Xbox Live launch games.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, I thought of one, The Darkness.
Oh, that's a good call. I played.
Yeah.
I didn't play the original. I played Darkness 2.
I played both of them, but
What?
yeah,
You played the second game, not the first game?
I think so.
Oh,
Is that the one
man,
where you have
the
like you have tentacles and like each of the triggers
Yeah.
are one of the different tentacles?
yeah, and then
Yeah.
you could like rip people apart.
No,
Man, that was
no
a-
wonder you didn't know that the first game had the entirety of To Kill a Mockingbird in it.
Did not know that. Like to
Yeah,
read?
the first game had a really sad story.
No, because you were being impressed that High on Life had a whole movie in it.
Oh
And you're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
Oh, I've never
Yeah.
seen anything like this before. I was like, well, the first The Darkness has the entire.
Yeah,
You could sit down on the couch with your girlfriend and watch all of To Kill a Mockingbird.
Oh wow, and that's actually a little bit better movie than what we got in High on Life.
It's an incredible movie. Yeah.
That's kind of cool. Last one, and this might fall into the same thing with Crimson Skies, just because it was so close to the console's initial release. But Spy Hunter on the PS2,
Oh yeah, Midway.
man, that game was fun, and I was such
Peter,
a massive Spy Hunter fan from like the original
Peter Gunn theme.
Peter Gunn.
I
Yeah.
love Spy Hunter. Spy Hunter's great.
Mm-hmm. And then remember they used the Peter Gunn theme in Waterworld at some point, and I was like, "What are you doing?"
Did they?
Yeah.
So
I mean, I love
just-
Waterworld. Don't get me wrong, but
I just watched 16 Candles for the first time ever.
oh wow.
really
And that has a Peter Gunn theme as well.
interesting. I will always correlate Peter Gunn with Spy Hunter for the
Agreed.
rest of my life. Well, that was a fun topic, guys. Zach, thanks so much for coming up with that, because I was struggling to come up with something, and I've turned out
That's
to
a
be
really good
fun
topic.
topic. My wallet
thanks.
says forget you, because I'm gonna go and like buy all these games now.
I don't know, man. When you're 3 hours into Singularity, you're gonna be thanking me.
I hope so. I guess I gotta get my Steam Deck back from CB. He's had it for quite a while now.
Yeah, you gotta just break into his house if you have to.
He didn't even finish desktop, whatever that desk simulator, whatever that.
Aperture
techno
Desk Job?
Yeah, hasn't even finished that.
It's only
Why are
30
you-
minutes.
I
I
know.
guess- So I guess he doesn't like the Steam Deck.
Apparently. Next week, because Dead Space is coming out, and I have to assume that all three of us will be playing it, we're going to have our topic centered around sci-fi games.
Yes.
Things that take place in space, and kind of develop a topic on that. So stay tuned for the social media outlets for that one for sure. But that's going to do it for this episode of the Gaming Outsider. Thanks so much for listening. I'd like to remind you guys that the episode was produced by Kevin Honigford, and all the music you hear is written and performed by Grant Henry of Stemmage and Metroid Metal. His website, again, is stemmagemusic.com. Please be sure to email us if you have any questions or concerns. Our address is feedback@thegamingoutsider.com. Zach, do you have any parting words or suggestions for our audience before we get out of here?
I guess just that if you're cautious about The Last of Us, I think the show does deliver.
Nice.
I wasn't blown away, but I've also seen the story 8 times.
Right.
So
Yeah.
but they flesh it out in smart ways. They take advantage of the medium of television, as the video game took advantage of games.
I
And
think it's
Pedro
gonna be
Pascal, incredible.
I feel like it's going to be the tentpole standard for how to make an adaptation. Like, people are going to look at
Oh, yeah.
this game to be like,
Yeah,
well, Last of Us did it better.
I'm gonna punch something in the face. Just the video game curse has been broken for years now. Like it's been proven.
No, I know.
So, yeah, no, but I think you're right, and I just keep seeing the headlines of like The Last of Us breaks the video game curse. You're like, yeah, you don't think Sonic did when it made hundreds of millions of dollars at the box
Right.
office, and an entire
Yeah.
generation is now re-obsessed with the blue blur.
Exactly.
Video game adaptations have been just fine for a while.
Can I think you've mentioned this before, but can we bring back like licensed games based on movies?
Yes, I would love that.
They weren't always great, but they didn't have to be great. It was just fun
No.
to.
Well, they were often not great, but it was a good way to like you get done watching Wanted, and then you can come home and get a little bit more Wanted.
Is that the one where you could like curve the bullets?
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely was. It was a cool
Like,
game.
like by just like doing one of these arcs and that made your bullet. Oh man.
Yeah.
Such a dumb concept, but it's cool at the same time.
I love the way they explain in the movie too, where Morgan Freeman's like, if somebody hadn't told you a bullet could only fire straight, then could you curve the bullet? And you're like, that's your explanation for this magical move? Think outside the box.
But Morgan Freeman said it, so you're like,
yes,
oh, okay.
It's Morgan Freeman. I have to believe him.
Yeah, he's so great.
Alyssa, how about you?
Okay, so there's this anime that started this season. It's only 3 episodes in, and the English dub just came out for the first episode, but it's called Buddy Daddies, and it is one of the sunshiny parts of my week. And it's about these 2 guys that are hitmen, and this little girl comes from far away. She somehow finds her way to their city. I don't know if it's Tokyo or I can't remember actually. She finds her way there. She's only like 4 years old. And she's like, "Are you my papa? Are you my papa?" And she gets entangled in this whole, like, they're trying to kill this guy that they're assigned to kill. She gets involved. She asks the guy that they're about to kill, "Are you my papa?" And to save her, one of the hitmen says, "I'm your papa." And then, of course, the hit's completed, but then they're just stuck with this little girl, and they're like, how do we be parents? It's funny, because
it sounds like The Professional.
Or is it 2 Men and a Baby, but with guns?
Yeah.
A lot of people are comparing it to Spy Family, but I wouldn't make that comparison really, because this is more violent, and it does have heavier topics in it. You see some stuff that's a little bit disturbing. But it is very wholesome, and that's where you get the laughs from. It's just this little girl being so adorable, and these 2 men not knowing how to be her parent, but they're trying to figure it out, and it's just the cutest thing ever. And they're trying to keep her from their assignments, but she wants to be with them all the time, so she's screwing the assignments up and everything, and it's just so good. Plus, all the women and several men on TikTok, on anime TikTok, are just thirsting over both of these guys.
Oh.
You can't blame them. They're very attractively drawn. And great characters. I mean, their attitudes are great, so, I mean, this show is my favorite of the season.
Very attractively drawn are words I don't think I've ever heard strung together before. I like it. I actually just got done watching, before we were recording this, a film that I did not think I was going to like, and I highly recommend it. I'm a little late to the party, but have you guys heard of 13 Lives, directed by Ron Howard?
I've heard of it, but I've yet to watch it.
It's on Amazon. It's on Amazon. It is great. It's a true story about, if you remember back, I don't remember when it was, what year it was, but there were like 13 soccer players that were trapped in an underground cave underwater, over in Thailand. And it's all about like them trying to rescue them out. It is intense, man. It is so well done. Viggo Mortensen's in it. Colin Farrell's in it. Joel Edgerton is also in it. It is. I was shocked that my wife wanted to watch it, and she wanted me to watch it with her. She started it and was like, no, we're going to watch it together. And I was just kind of like, oh, this is not going to be anything I'm going to be super excited about. And I was riveted. It was really, really good. So give it a shot. What they did to try to rescue these kids is nuts. I had no idea. I remember the story happening in real life, but I did not know how they did it. And what they actually did is crazy. I don't want to ruin it.
Did you fact check it? Is it true?
No. I mean, they had a thing on here that it was, this really happened kind of thing. So I don't know how. Right. Well, it was a very specific thing that was a very pivotal part of the story. So I feel like if they embellished that, that'd be kind of crappy. But
I'm forever skeptical. So it was Bohemian Rhapsody where they they accidentally stepped off their stairs too hard, and that's how they got the "We Will Rock You" chant.
Oh yeah.
Wait, that's really what happened? I don't remember that happening in the movie.
Yeah, that happened in the movie.
Yeah, it happened in the movie, yeah.
I don't remember that. I just remember them saying, we got this thing and we want to get the crowd interaction, and they just started doing it. I don't remember the thing with the stairs. I'm going to have to go back and watch it again.
They're recording booth. I think they're recording on some kind of weird elevated thing, and one of the dudes jumps down a little bit, and then Freddie Mercury's like, that's the sound.
Yeah,
and it's so dumb.
I don't remember that. I'm going to go watch it now. But all right. Well, thank you so much, both of you, for being here. It is a pleasure as always. And everybody out there, I want to remind you that I am Scott Clark. That's Zach Parkerson. That is Alyssa White. And we are the Gaming Outsider. And remember, there's no such thing as a bad game, just games that aren't for you.